Chapter 168, Lulu's Love Diary. When I first saw him, he was riding on the formidable, godlike mountain lord's back. Our village is located in the mountains and needs a 3 days' walk to reach the nearest city. Mountain Lord was the greatest, most terrible creature they had ever seen. Mountain Lord was water god's subordinate and didn't eat humans, and its existence itself was enough to make the villagers feel reverence. Therefore, the villagers continued to offer it sacrifices even during the most difficult of days. There were countless legends about Mountain Lord in the village. It was said that Mountain Lord was hundreds of years old and had defeated a lot of hero-ranked creatures who had tried to occupy this area. Mountain Lord had invulnerable fur, could bathe in fires and leap over mountain streams easily. Mountain Lord liked to eat beef. It only ate the beef from cattle that were about 1 year old. Ever since Lulu could remember, the villagers had told her countless times that no one should provoke Mountain Lord or walk close to its lair. Mountain Lord was sacrosanct in the villagers' eyes. Till that day when 2 people who were greater than Mountain Lord arrived in this village. They were water god's apostles, the spokesmen of the great god, the people that were longed for by all intelligent beings. No one dared to pretend to be an apostle. Only the people who were chosen by water god could wear water god's mask. At that moment, all the villagers understood that the most honorable guests had come. Lulu didn't know the reason, but when she saw the man who wore the silver mask, her heart couldn't stop pounding. Why? They had never seen each other before, but she felt close to the honorable apostle she had just seen. She had a feeling that she knew this man, even before she was born in this world. However, it was impossible. Both his broad shoulders and mature temperament had hinted that the apostle was far older than her. Compared to him, she was just like a child. When she was asked to be water god's bride, she was really scared, because nobody in the world knew what would happen after becoming water god's bride. Water god was the only supreme god in the world. Even though over 90% people in the world believed in water god, but no one had really seen the god with their eyes. To mortals, the god was just a distant, untouchable symbol, and only the god's apostles walked around the world to preach the god's will. She was afraid that she would never return to the mortal world after marrying water god. He must have seen her frightened face and thought that she was a naive girl who couldn't be left alone, so he proposed to her to protect her in this way. She knew it. She knew that she was pitied and protected. However, she also knew that she had fallen in love with the apostle, who did his best to help her. He felt the weakness in her heart, and stretched out a helping hand. She was too immature compared to the gentle apostle. When he proposed to Lulu, she froze. What should I do? Is my expression strange? Will he think that I'm a weird girl? Why am I so immature? Hoa. When he held my hands, I found out that his hands were very large, and his expression was steadfast. Is this what an adult should become? Compared to him, Lulu thought that she was too indecisive. She stayed awake the whole night and pondered again and again. No, how can a girl like me make him like me? Why aren't I a mature lady? If so, I would have the guts to answer him freely and bravely. What? The apostles were going to leave. They would go to other villages to choose new candidates for water god. Why? I haven't given him my answer. Was it because my indecision disappointed him? No, it wasn't due to her. Lulu knew it. To the great apostles, water god's will was the most important thing. This village was just the first station on their journey. From the beginning, I shouldn't have felt hopeful to become the great apostle's bride. Lulu thought in her heart. However, it wasn't the end. I needed to tell him my answer. Even if he rejected me, I should let him know my heart. Maybe I still felt afraid and my will wasn't strong enough, but I will tell him. I will. I agree to be your bride. I want to stay with you. I fell in love with you at the first glance. Thank God. The apostle hadn't left. He was still in the village. This must be the last opportunity fate gave her. Therefore, I told him, then got the answer I wanted. Holding the fresh vegetables and fruits from other villagers in her hands, Lulu ran along the village path with a smile. She was happy, and even the wind in her ears was euphonious. In the golden sunshine, the man who wore the silver mask was leaning on the giant white tiger's body, as bright as a sun. Today is still a sunny day. I hope that he can find more beautiful brides. Chapter 169, Yunxi's Gifts, Engagement Gifts and Betrothal Gifts. Yunxi leaned on the white tiger's soft belly. He needed the green slime gem and was lost in thought. Lulu was so pure that she didn't even ask for any gift from him. She was just a rare exception. This world had its own traditional love system and courtship ritual. Since he had decided to finish side quest 4, to love Starchild, he should be preparing gifts for the girls he would propose to. However, there was the problem. Apart from a few weapons, materials, and the green gem, he was literally as poor as a church mouse. If he hadn't become Water God's apostle, he couldn't even freeload off this village. Even though this isn't a real world, there must be a reason for their proposal ceremony. At least, the gifts must be something I have chosen with my true heart. Otherwise, they will lose their memories in this world, and it will be too sad to them at that time. Yunxi needed the green slime gem and made a decision. At any rate, he should present the best gifts he had for them as engagement gifts. He would send them to his fiancées, the of Starwings Knight's girls. The engagements would be fake, the fiancés would be fake, and the world itself was just a fantastic dream, like a bubble under a summer sky. However, at least the gifts he would present to them would be real. Perhaps this was the only thing he could do in Water God's world for them. The best gift I can offer them is, not something from the people in this world, but something made by myself. Yunxi gradually figured it out as he basked in the sun. Yes, a gift which could only be made by him in this world. A gift which had never appeared in this world, the thing that was most popular amongst the Starwings Knight's girls. They even held rated battles for it. There are honey, cream, no butter, but I can make it myself. Got the enriched flour, but I have to make an oven and baking tools myself. Yunxi nodded after listing all the materials and tools he needed. He could do it. This world didn't have bread, and the villagers were used to eating pancakes that were made of wheat flour. However, it was simply because they hadn't learned suitable fermenting technology. Water God had no connection with any other worlds, just like the period before star bridges were built amongst different gods' domains. It wasn't surprising to learn that there was no bread in this world. I think that bread can be a decent gift in this world. With my mask's power, I can make bread that will retain its freshness for as long as possible. Oh, right, I can also control mist during the working process. Yunxi suddenly saw the light. He knew how to use his hero-ranked power now. To bakers, it was very important to blend water and flour when making bread. When one was bringing yeast into play and kneading dough, water was a necessary factor. In fact, the bread's taste and quality had been decided even before it was put into the oven. Baking was just the last step. Laymen thought that it was the most important process, but in fact, it was the simplest step in the eyes of experts. Yunxi had a feeling that with his Water God's mask, he could make unprecedented, perfect bread. I've decided. Even though the world is fake, but the bread I will make will be real. Apart from that, I don't have anything else that can be presented to them. Let me start. Yunxi got excited after realizing what he could do and what extent he could reach. Lulu, can you go to the smithy to order these things for me? The faster the better. Oh, and I also need fine flours and creams. Little Moo, you are their mountain lord, can you look for these things for me? Yes, mushroom, vanilla, and honey. I have seen them in the forest. Soon afterwards, Yunshi had collected all the materials and tools he needed. Benefiting from his identity as Water God's apostle and Little Moo's dominance in the forest, all the materials and tools were the best. Master, what are you going to do? Lulu asked with curiosity. It's just an idea. Lulu, I will give you a foretaste in a short while. Yunshi felt satisfied looking at the familiar materials and tools. Compared to being Water God's apostle, he preferred to be an ordinary baker. It was time to give his first fiancée a gift. The first bread in this world would be born in his hands. Therefore, I will make butter bread. Everyone likes it and it's the bread I know best. Yunshi was itching for a try. Why? Even when he fought with the green hippo in the dark forest, he didn't feel so excited. Why? It was the simplest food he had made countless times for his childhood sweetheart, Hua Hua. However, when he made it again in this strange world, he couldn't stop his heart from pounding. Had something just changed? Maybe it was because it was a gift he would present to his fiancée, so that is why he felt so excited. Foretaste. Looking at the flour, cream, and honey in the front of Yunshi, Lulu couldn't imagine how to mix them and eat them. Well, even if they taste bad, I will eat them all. It will be the food made by the apostle personally. As his wife, I can never say, it tastes bad. Puff. Yunshi took a deep breath. There was mist between his fingers. The soft, slippery, green gem lay on Yunshi's shoulder and gazed at him curiously. Chapter 170, Upgrading. Gee. This is, Yunshi's every movement looked holy and mysterious in Lulu's eyes. When he reached out his fingers, which were covered with mist, and started to do something to the flower, she firmly remembered every step in her heart. However, she couldn't understand what Yunshi was doing. Of course she couldn't understand. Yunshi's skill was the most consummate skill that was summarized by countless bakers across thousands of years. It was the crystal of wisdom inherited by bakers from one generation to another. People who hadn't reached this rank could never understand it. A third-ranked baker could already be regarded as a master in the mortal world. Even though a third-ranked baker wouldn't be as strong as a third-ranked swordsman, their skill would still far surpass ordinary people's imagination. In fact, a third-ranked baker was rarer than a third-ranked swordsman, because ordinary people wouldn't continue pouring their energy, time and enthusiasm simply for becoming a third-ranked baker. As a third-ranked swordsman, you would have endless glory, wealth and power. However, if you were a third-ranked baker, not only that, including painter, musician and pharmacist, in ordinary people's eyes, you were just a human who had perfect technique. As long as you were talented in battle, even if you could only reach the first or the second rank, your status would be higher than that of a person who had achieved a third-ranked non-combat career. Only the people who had poured their hearts into their careers would have the chance to reach the third rank in their careers. Yunshi was the only third-ranked baker in the small town's history where he was born. After he completed the baker's third-rank professional certification, countless nobles and rich men had sent out invitations to him, trying to recruit him to be their chef. Even if it were in the outside world, a third-ranked baker was pretty rare, not to mention in Water God's world. Water God's world wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. Pharmacists were popular due to the danger in this world. As for the people who were good at making food, they were very rare. In other words, Yunshi was the only third-ranked baker in this world. He could even call himself the best cook in this world. I understand. So that is what it is. Controlling the mist, Yunshi could feel that he was in excellent condition. Everything originates from water. Water is the most subtle part in food that can influence people's taste buds, and bread wasn't an exception. Now, with the power of his water god's mask, Yunshi could even control the water molecules in the dough. He was like a person who was using a cheat and could remove all flaws from the raw materials perfectly. It should be more water molecules here. There are impurities. Reject them. Okay, the proportion is perfect. I shouldn't change it. For the first time, Yunshi used the power of his water god's mask to make bread. He was brainstorming. Countless ideas were emerging in his heart like a fountain. He suddenly understood the parts he felt confused about when he made bread in the past. The essence of cooking was to use water, fire, and raw materials in a proper way. The best chef could make a perfect dish with the simplest seasonings and freshest food ingredients. It was a general rule to all cooking class careers. If you could release the food's natural delicate flavor, you could make the mortal world's best food. As a third-ranked baker, Yunshi had touched this realm a long time ago. The butter bread he made even contained a special effect that could restore a person's physical strength strikingly when eaten. He had reached a mortal's limits. However, something had been changed now. With the power of water god's mask, he was surpassing a mortal's limits. Water molecules, accelerate. Yunshi knew how to handle raw materials well with ease. However, he didn't put the semi-finished dough into the oven but started heating the dough in an incredible way. A large number of water molecules moved fast and vibrated at a high frequency on Yunshi's hands, toasting the dough perfectly and evenly. As Lulu gazed at him in surprise, the white dough gradually became golden, spreading a tempting scent in the air. Is this water god's divine power? Why did the dough suddenly become big in the apostle's hands and emanate a pleasant scent? What is happening? I can actually do it in this way. Yunshi also felt shocked after seeing his idea come true. No, it wasn't a skill that could be learned by mortals. Whether it was the preparation method of the raw materials or the way to accelerate water molecules, the two techniques were far surpassed a mortal's limit. Bang! At the moment the first loaf of bread formed, countless information suddenly appeared in Yunshi's mind. They were his perception to the world's nature and his understanding about superpowers. The world had changed in his eyes. It was the so-called transcendence. From now on, he wasn't a mortal anymore. In an instant, he understood it. His rank was upgraded. Not as a swordsman or as a great sword maid, but as a baker. He was a fourth-ranked baker now. The upgrading process of common careers wasn't as complicated as the upgrading process of battle careers. It was a natural process after one finished a piece of work that surpassed a mortal's limits. A painter's upgrading process was to draw a painting that would expose your inner world and shock people's hearts. A musician's upgrading process was to write a music piece that could strike a chord in the audience's hearts. A pharmacist's upgrading process was to create medicine that could even heal hero-ranked beings. In a word, the upgrading standard for all non-combat careers was the same, to create a masterpiece that surpassed a mortal's limit. Bang! On Yunshi's fingertip, the first fourth-ranked food he had made, the golden butter bread, suddenly became 3 times bigger as its tempting smell spread throughout the whole village. Chapter 171, Imprint. Yunshi didn't know what things a fourth-ranked baker could do. Even in the whole White Lotus sword domain, there wasn't too much information about it, not to mention in Water God's world. Yes, compared to combat careers which were very popular, non-combat careers were rare, and the people who could attain the 4th rank in any non-combat career were also as rare as the hair of a phoenix and the horns of a giraffe. After all, if a person was talented, why would the person choose a non-combat career instead of a combat career? Although non-combat careers were so common, if one wanted to reach the 4th rank, talent wasn't enough, one must love their career. Coincidentally, Yunshi met the 2 requirements. Undoubtedly, before this day, as a young 3rd-ranked baker, he was talented in making bread and desserts. He was the only third-ranked baker in that small town. Yunxi loved his career from the bottom of his heart. According to his original life plan, he had planned to inherit his parents' baker's shop and marry an ordinary girl in the small town. As a person who had met the two requirements and had obtained Water God's mask, which had opened the door leading to the fourth rank for him, he had naturally surmounted the obstacle. It's a fourth-ranked loaf. This was also the first time Yunxi had seen a fourth-ranked loaf. It was golden and spread a tempting scent. Up to this point, Yunxi could still understand it. However, what was it about its size that it suddenly became 3 times bigger than before? Moreover, Yunxi felt that the loaf contained some special powers. Lulu, try it. In order to validate his idea, Yunxi tore off a small piece of the loaf and put it into Lulu's mouth. Ah, whoa. Lulu nibbled the piece of loaf and felt the tempting taste in her mouth. She had just put the soft piece of bread into her mouth, when a warm feeling spread in her body. Lulu thought that she had just seen a field of wheat under the golden sunshine. After the second bite, an unprecedented sweet feeling swept across Lulu's body and soul. Delicious. How delicious. Lulu could barely believe that it was a food made from flour, eggs, honey, and cream. She felt that she was basking in a sea of cream. The effects are, refresh energy, increase vitality, and become beautiful. Yunxi carefully observed Lulu. He saw her skin suddenly become as smooth as an eggshell, and even the calluses on her hands had also disappeared. He was able to determine that the fourth-ranked loaf did contain a fantastic power that could nourish skin and increase vitality. In a manner of speaking, it was food that could be regarded as strategic material. Besides, the loaf was covered with a layer of special mist, which made it seem that it could prevent spoilage. Just like all hero-ranked careers, fourth-ranked non-combat careers could also accomplish a quantum leap for the people who had achieved the rank. It was said that a hero-ranked painter could draw magical paintings, and a hero-ranked musician could play entrancing music. As a hero-ranked baker, the ability Yunxi obtained just now was. Yunxi stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers towards the remaining raw materials. Time seemed to pause for an instant, and then was accelerated after that. All kinds of raw materials automatically permuted, combined, changed, leavened, and toasted. After 10 seconds, a row of tempting butter loaves were arranged on the table in front of Yunxi. Rapid prototyping and speeding up of the baking process. After I have made a sample, I can create same foods at any time as long as there are raw materials. Is it mass production, the ability I have obtained? Yunxi closed his eyes and felt the magical ability. As long as there were still raw materials, he could make as many different foods as he wanted in an instant. This was the special ability he just obtained as a fourth-ranked baker. No, that wasn't the end. He had also obtained a stronger ability. Start, imagine, create. Yunxi remembered the process when he had made the loaf just now. The process was imprinted in Yunxi's mind like drawing a picture on a scroll. In his body, a part of his energy suddenly disappeared and was put into the scroll in his mind. After that, an incredible thing happened. Without any raw material or tool, a sweet, soft and hot golden loaf suddenly appeared in Yunxi's hands. Bread creation. I can make a bread from nothing. Yunxi slowly opened his eyes. Finally, he understood his strongest ability as a fourth-ranked baker, making bread from nothing. By using his energy, his knowledge, and love about bread, he could make bread which had already been imprinted in his mind. My body is bread, and my blood is wine. Eat my flesh and blood, you will obtain my blessing. Yunxi recalled and read the prayer before dinner of a god from Western God's domain. Yunxi suddenly understood. The god was a baker, too. Oh, it's delicious. Master, why is it so tasty? Oh, look, everyone is here. Lulu ate the loaf and took a glance at the door, seeing that the villagers were all standing at the door. Well, take it and share it with everyone. Yunshi handed over the golden loaf to Lulu. Theoretically, the bread he made personally, the bread made by his ability mass production, and the bread made by his ability bread creation, were all the same. The difference was that the bread he made himself needed raw materials. As long as there were still raw materials, he could make as many loaves of bread as he wanted. The bread made by his ability of bread creation would take his physical strength and energy as the price, and before that, he needed to create a sample first in the real world, then imprint the process into his memory, so that he could use this ability. Chapter 172, 12 Candidate Brides. Incredibly, after becoming a hero-ranked baker, Yunshi could also create a special personal storage where he could store the bread he made. The storage spanned 100 grids and wasn't in common use with his star system, which meant that he could only put 100 loaves into it. The bread he put in the storage would become increasingly perfect with stronger effects as time went by. It would become one of his trump cards. All the abilities he had obtained were solely for making better bread. This was the greatest characteristic of hero-ranked baker. Yunshi hadn't expected that he would obtain a storage space for bread. It seemed that this was an exclusive ability of hero-ranked baker. Just like bread creation, which could form bread from nothing, they were all special abilities that surpassed the imagination of ordinary people. Hero-ranked non-combat career and hero-ranked combat career were entirely different. Then let me fill 100 grids as a starting goal. I don't have a more advanced recipe, so I'll make 100 butter loaves. Yunshi was in high spirits. Today was Yunshi's happiest day since he became the so-called star child. He did not need to consider anything and just needed to make as many loaves of bread as he liked. At the same time, the loaves Yunshi had made caused a stir in the village. The villagers left 3 loaves for Lulu because she was the apostle's fiancée. Apart from that, all the remaining loaves were snatched unreservedly. To the villagers who only knew how to make pancakes, bread was a magical food that had never appeared in Water God's world before. Moreover, the loaves they ate were made by a hero-ranked baker. Most people bit their tongues the moment they bit into the bread. It was too delicious. Its unprecedented, sweet, soft taste captured their hearts immediately. The scent of fermented wheat blended with the scent of honey and cream. This perfect taste could satisfy the most critical gourmet, not to mention these ordinary villagers. As I thought, the apostle is a man who creates miracles. Lulu licked the white cream off the corner of her mouth and looked at Yunshi's room with reverence. 97, 98, 99, 100. After imprinting 100 butter loaves without a break, a fit of dizziness came over Yunshi. He was exhausted. As he had expected, bread creation wasn't as simple as it seemed. After making 100 loaves of bread, his physical strength thoroughly drained. Even a child could push him down. Fortunately, these 100 butter loaves in his storage represented that Yunshi's efforts were not futile. The storage would continuously save energy into the bread Yunshi made, making these loaves become unique as time passed. If I get stranded on a desert island in the future again, food will be the least of my worries. Yunshi mocked himself as he wiped off the sweat on his forehead. He remembered the biggest problem the girls on the island were facing. No matter how ingenious he was, he couldn't make bread without raw materials until today. After the grain reserve they had collected from White Lotus was eaten up, they had to obtain raw materials from local sources. Naturally, there wouldn't be milk, flour, eggs and honey on the island, and after knowing that the island was a monster's eye, Yunshi didn't want to eat any animal on the island. Now, he was able to solve the problem perfectly. Bang! Bang! The green slime gem jumped back and forth on Yunshi's hand, wondering where the sweet, soft loaves were. What? Are you hungry? Yunshi poked the naughty green slime gem. What a fantastic being. He had collected thousands of slimes and they still kept their size so small, as if there was some core controlling the slimes to maintain the size. Obviously, it had no brain, but it had a strong survival instinct. After knowing that Yunshi wouldn't eliminate them, the green slime gem even became intimate to him. It's hard to believe that you can finally evolve into a strong sky sword. Look, you can eat this loaf. Yunshi squeezed out his remaining energy and created a new butter loaf, putting it in front of the green slime gem. Bang! The green slime gem jumped to the loaf, which was dozens of times bigger than itself, and started to roll on it. It wasn't obvious, but Yunshi did see that it was eating the loaf. Yunshi observed it in curiosity and found that it absorbed the butter loaf bit by bit in an unknown manner. You are really incredible creatures. I hope that you will be harmless till the last moment. Yunshi slowly closed his eyes. It was more tiring than he had expected to make the 100 loaves. However, in this case, he had finished preparing the engagement gifts for the Starwings Night Girls. 100 loaves were a little too much, but it should be okay since Yunshi remembered that Starwings Night Girls all like to eat butter bread. The next ceremony would be soon. It's too strange. What a coincidence, Yunshi frowned as he gazed at the 12th scroll in his hand. It was hard to believe that each of the 12 villages in this area had an excellent girl like a crane standing among chickens. Lulu, Ling Ling, Meilon. Compared to the ordinary girls in the villages, their appearances and talents were apparently far above average. It wouldn't be surprising if there were only 1 or 2 excellent girls. However, it was the same for all the 12 villages. There must be some reason. 12 candidate brides in 12 different villages. Chapter 173, Yunkei's Anger, What a Coincidence. 12 excellent girls in 12 different villages, and all of them had distinctive charms. What was the probability? At the least, Yunkei didn't believe that it was just a coincidence. There must be some reason. After closing the 12th scroll of the candidate brides, Yunkei opened the map she had made. I have collected all the necessary information in this area. It's time to go to the cities. Compared to small villages, it's more likely to find suitable candidate brides in cities. After making this plan, Yunkei frowned as she looked at the map she had made. That guy, is he still in the first village? She didn't want to admit it, but the apostle called Yunhai was strong. She had even failed to figure out the limits of his power. Both of them had a water god's mask, however, his water mist was more efficient on the battlefield, which could easily turn the situation in battlefield around. If he wanted, he could win a war all by himself. Compared to her ability of blood, which could only be used in small battles, his ability made him look more like a legendary water god's apostle. Maybe this was the reason why Water God chose him to be its apostle. However, since he was so talented, why was he often derelict in his duty and carried out irrelevant business? He never took Water God's quest to his heart and whispered of love with his fiancée all day. In her imagination, he must live a dissolute life every night. What a shameless, salacious man. He didn't deserve to have his great talent. Calm down. Even though this guy is immoral, he is still very strong. Having received the benefit of Yunhai's water mist, they had eliminated most of the green slimes in the area. His ability was indispensable at present. Ignore him, ignore him. Everything is for finding the most suitable bride for Water God. I must finish this quest. Yunkei took a deep breath. No matter the sacrifice and whatever the cost, once she accepted a quest, she would never give up on finishing it. This was her principle in life. In order to achieve her goal, she wasn't beneath using unscrupulous tactics. Even though the man named Yunhai was a shameless pervert, as long as he would come in handy, she would suffer him patiently and silently. It's time to move. When will I go to the nearby cities? Yes, of course I will go, but I can't leave before the ceremony. Yunxi nodded to Yunkei, and told her that he needed more time. Ceremony? What's it? We don't have time to play. Our most urgent quest is to find more and more bride candidates for Water God. Before Shay-Alongness enters the second stage, we must seize every minute and second. Yunkei was exasperated at Yunxi's attitude. If her sight was as sharp as a sword, he would have been killed. It's for finding a method to fight against the Sky Sword. I can't explain it to you now. Anyway, you can go to the nearby city first, Yun Quebec. Yunxi shook his head. He couldn't tell her the truth that his side quest 4 was the key point to solve the whole event. Why are you so greedy for beautiful girls? Yunkei had reached the end of her forbearance. You are a hero-ranked Water God's apostle. You haven't performed your task and instead enjoyed your married life in this small village day and night. What's wrong with you? Since you call yourself Yunhai, then take on the glory this name symbolized. The real Yunhai the Sword Master was a legend in the whole Sky Sword God's domain. He was one of the 3 deicides. In the 10 Leaves Alliance, the scrolls about him could fill up a room. He was the one who was most likely to inherit the title Unrivaled Sky Sword. After the first Sky Sword God's domain master, the first Unrivaled Sky Sword, disappeared, no one had obtained this title again. The current master of Sky Sword God's domain was one of the 3 deicides. Because there were 3 Sky Swords whose power were at the same level, none of them was strong enough to inherit this crowning title, becoming the new, unrivaled Sky Sword. Yunhai the Sword Master was the youngest and the most gifted one amongst the 3 deicides. Unfortunately, he had also disappeared for a long time, and the other Sky Swords had no interest to scramble for power, otherwise, it would be still indeterminate who would become the current master of Sky Sword God's domain. In fact, you misunderstand me. Yunxi looked at Yunkei awkwardly. His impression of him was favorable, but it seemed that he'd misunderstood him too much. Then why did you propose to Lulu? She was very likely to be a candidate bride. Now, she has become your woman and lost her opportunity. Yunkei couldn't understand Yunxi's thinking loop. As a Water God's apostle, he actually carried off his god's candidate bride. It was a sacrilege to the god. Why didn't he feel guilty? My woman, no, you misunderstand us. Yunxi shook and hesitated for a while, then said, I know you think that I did something wrong, but there is a reason. At least, Lulu didn't deny my proposal. Both of us were sincere. Yes, this was the point. Side Quest 4, To Love, Starchild, wasn't a quest that could be simply completed by verbal contracts. In order to finish it, the girl who agreed to his proposal must be sincere from the bottom of her heart. He couldn't force nor cheat the girl. If so, it wouldn't be accepted by the stars. Yunkei was speechless. Yes. It seemed that Yunhai had defied Water God's quest, but actually, he had done nothing wrong. After all, the girl, Lulu's smile was real. She really loved this scum. When Yunkei had found her and asked if she wanted to reject Yunhai's proposal, she had replied, I wasn't forced. I liked him of my own free will. Yes, I love him very, very, very much. Chapter 174, Strategic Materials, Even If You Won't Be His Only Lover. Yunkei didn't understand why she still thought that she was happy, even though she wouldn't be his only one. Yes, I know. The apostle had told me that he would have lots of brides. Lulu answered with joy in her eyes. It's already very lucky for me to be his first bride. He is such a mature and great man. As an immature girl, it's my luck to marry him. Every minute, every second I have spent with him is my treasure. No matter where he will go and what he will do, I will stay with him forever. This is my fate. What a pure, innocent girl. Just thinking about that scum doing this thing and that thing to this girl every night, Yoon-K felt sick to her stomach. What a scum. Why do I see white liquid, white cream, at the corners of her mouth? No, I shouldn't keep imagining. All of them are very cute. Yoon-shi looked through the 12 scrolls Yoon-K had made. Yoon-K's paintings didn't contain an artistic taste. However, the paintings she had drawn accurately traced out the girls' appearances. There were no artistic treatments in Yoon-K's paintings, but they exposed more of the girls' excellent, elegant demeanors. Yoon-shi even felt that the girls had become more beautiful after entering Water God's world. Their skins were as tender as water, and their temperaments were as bright as full-blown flowers, as if the air in this world was changing them. No one would know that they weren't as beautiful as now before they joined Starwing's Night. And now, in this world, these Starwing's Night girls were changed again. Just like Lulu, who had awakened her talent as a pharmacist, the other girls were also growing fast. This time, this dream world was just too amazing. You. What do you mean? Don't tell me that you want to propose to them. Yoon-K mercilessly stared at Yoon-shi with her sharp eyes. You, this salacious guy. How many pure, innocent girls would satisfy you? Ha ha, oh, right. You must feel tired after making such a long journey. Do you want to eat some bread? Yoon-shi quickly changed the topic and handed over a loaf of bread he had made to her. Bread? Where did you get it? Yoon-K looked at the golden loaf Yoon-shi had handed over to her in surprise. She swallowed. The cooking technology in Water God's world was still at a very low level. To villagers, a barbecue was already a very luxurious delicacy. As for bread, it hadn't been invented in this world. After taking the sweet butter loaf from Yoon-shi, Yoon-K even felt a slight disorder. Gee! The loaf. Unlike the ordinary villagers in this small village, Yoon-K was an elite from the 10 Leaves Alliance. She immediately felt something unusual. After taking a small bite of the loaf, she realized an amazing thing. It tasted like sunlight, making her feel that she was basking in the sun. All the blood within her body was groaning, with a comfortable feeling hovering within her mind. It's a 4th-ranked loaf. It's a strategic material. Where did you get it? Yoon-K carefully put the golden loaf into her pocket. No, it wasn't because the loaf wasn't delicious. In fact, she admitted that it was the best bread she had ever eaten. However, compared to its taste, its effects of replenishing one's energy and physical strength were more important. It could become life-saving medicine if it was necessary. She couldn't waste its effects at present. Even though she was an elite from the 10 Leaves Alliance, she wasn't qualified to obtain any 4th-ranked food. It wasn't something that could be bought by money, but through high-level strategic materials. In the Alliance, only hero-ranked killers could obtain a similar supply. She had only tasted similar food once when she had won the first prize in the Alliance's boot camp. It had been a 4th-ranked food named Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation, which could replenish her magic power and physical strength strikingly, but she had eaten the biscuit in her advanced trial. After that, she had never obtained such a precious supply again. If she had a Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation when she had tried to assassinate Hua Hua, she wouldn't have been forced to use that method. No, forget it, forget it. Remembering the man that night, Yoon-K was suddenly in a bad mood. Isn't it good? Yoon-shi looked at Yoon-K in surprise. This was the first time he had seen the powerful Red Archer show such a painful expression. Is the bread really that bad? He thought that the butter loaf was one of his best masterpieces. It's not about the taste. After a while, Yun-Kei had to admit that she couldn't say, "It's not good," against her own will. "I'm glad to hear you say that. After all, I made the bread myself." "Yes, it's fourth-ranked bread." It was the first time I had made fourth-ranked bread myself, and it seemed that it wasn't bad. "Ha ha." Yun-Shi let out a sigh of relief. Are you a hero-ranked baker? How can it be possible? It's a very rare non-combat career. Yun-Kei couldn't believe what she had just heard. Did that salacious scum just say that the bread was made by him? Is he really so talented? Why is the universe so unfair, giving such a salacious, irresponsible apostle such a powerful gift? Hero-ranked baker. This career was even rarer than being a sorcerer. In the whole 10 Leaves Alliance, only very few cooks were fourth-ranked, otherwise, Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation wouldn't become so rare. Yes, I just upgraded to the 4th rank not long ago. I think that my ability can be of some use to you. Yun-Shi hadn't realized how useful his ability was. In any case, Baker was just a non-combat career. Even though he had upgraded to the hero rank, it couldn't be more helpful than his identity as Water God's Apostle. Don't you know what it means? Yun-Kei couldn't stand it any longer. Can be of some use. His bread was a type of strategic material. Chapter 175. Terrible non-combat careers. Taking Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation as an example, the hero-ranked cookie maker who could make this special supply could make 5 to 10 biscuits every day. However, in the 10 Leaves Alliance, the demand for these special, precious biscuits was limitless. Unlike spirit weapons or artifacts which demanded high requirements to their users, everyone could eat this type of special food. From a hero-ranked swordsman down to a mortal-ranked killer, even an ordinary person could get benefits from eating it with no side effects. The number of biscuits the cookie maker could make was just like a drop in the bucket. They totally couldn't meet people's need. But what did she just see? The man named Yun-Hai could make butter bread, which was clearly rarer than the Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation. Both the golden butter bread's weight and effect had far surpassed the biscuit Yun-Kei had once eaten. If the effect of the Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation Yun-Kei had eaten was 10, then the effect of the sweet, soft, golden bread Yun-Shi had made was 100. In a word, a golden loaf was equal to 10 biscuits. From what Yun-Kei knew, the cookie maker was a big shot in the 10 Leaves Alliance and was protected perfectly by the Alliance. The cookie maker was more important than any of the hero-ranked warriors in the Alliance, no, more important than that. Because the 10 Leaves Alliance could recruit lots of hero-ranked mercenaries easily, it was as difficult as climbing up to the sky when they tried to find any free hero-ranked cook. The cookie maker, whose name was highly confidential, was cultivated by the Alliance itself. Hero-ranked cooks were rarer than ordinary people's imagination. Even if this man named Yun-Hai only exposed his ability of making the butter loaf in the outside world, countless forces would fight to recruit him, at all costs. Hero-ranked non-combat career was a hidden career amongst all hero-ranked careers. People thought that hero-ranked non-combat careers were weak, but in fact, it was a complete misunderstanding. Once they reached the later stage of the hero rank, their abilities would reach a brand new realm. Among all hero-ranked careers, poet, painter, musician, and clown were 4 of the most dreadful careers, because it seemed that they had no fighting strength on the surface. As for baker, cookie maker, and pastry chef, who could make special food, they were rarer. They were qualified to be called master. Strong hero-ranked warriors could help in increasing a force's fame, however, hero-ranked cooks could help in increasing the whole force's upper limit. And now, such a master was standing in front of her. Why did such a shameless, salacious man have such great talent? What a big waste. Could it be that only abnormal people had the potential to become a master? If so. Yun-Kei looked at Yun-Shi with a peculiar expression. It seemed that it was the truth. To hero-ranked non-combat professionals, they must be fanatical towards their careers, and their upgrading methods were also totally different from the upgrading methods of combat careers. Most hero-ranked painters were incurable pursuers of beauty. Most hero-ranked musicians were fanatics of all kinds of weird sounds. Most hero-ranked clowns were psychiatric maniacs. As for bakers, cookie makers, and pastry chefs, if they weren't monomanias, how could they focus on making food all day and cast special, fantastic effects in foods? In other words, almost all hero-ranked non-combat professionals weren't normal people. All the normal people in the universe had gone to practice their combat skills, and only lunatics were willing to practice their non-combat skills till the hero rank. They were all eccentrics, because normal people couldn't make bread or cookies containing magic power. They could change the rules of the world in some sense, which was far beyond ordinary people's understanding. Strong hero-ranked warriors could smash a mountain with a single blow, shake the earth with a single stomp, and change the wind and clouds with a single roar. However, even though they were incredibly powerful, they couldn't draw a magical picture, play euphonious music, or make a piece of total biscuit of rejuvenation. Hero-ranked non-combat professionals were more close to the nature of the universe, and would eventually become terrible monsters. They were not inferior to the strongest hero-ranked warrior in the world in some sense. If they reached the 6th rank, standing at the top of hero rank, they would become a painter who could draw the world's nature, a musician who could play death, or a clown who could bring madness. They told people in this way that non-combat careers weren't as weak as people thought. They were geniuses above geniuses. And now, there was such a genius in front of Yun Quebec. He was a water god's apostle who could control mist within a wide range. And also, he was a baker who could make 4th-ranked golden butter bread, which was 10 times more precious than total biscuit of rejuvenation. He had 2 hero-ranked careers, and was eminent at both of the careers. What a terrible man! Yun-Kei whispered, looking at Yun-Shi who hadn't realized his worth. Great, you like it. It seems that my bread isn't bad. Yun-Shi let out a sigh of relief. If Yun-Kei, who was always serious and meticulous, also liked his loaf, then it shouldn't be a problem to present the bread to the girls as engagement gifts. Everything is under my control. What I should do next is to propose to the other 11 girls. Chapter 176, King of Spiders Mist. The surface of Water God's world was covered in endless mist. Only when the sunlight shone on the whole world, did the mist, which always hovered within the forests, on the mountains and lakes, be slightly dispelled, but never totally vanish. In fact, apart from the roads, villages, and cities which were protected by some unknown power, the whole world was covered in mist. It was a daily scene in Water God's world, and it had become a part of this world in ordinary people's eyes. Just like the sun in the sky, the mist on the ground was also a natural thing to all living beings in this world. They regarded it as a part of the great water god's avatar. Even though there were always some terrible monsters born in the mist, it was also a natural part of this world's natural rules. The people in Water God's worlds were blessed by Water God and hardly ever suffered hunger. Then why did they think that strong people can marry a lot of girls? Because there was such a danger. They needed to guard against risks in this manner. There were unknown dangers lingering in the mist. In a deep cave, 8 eyes slowly opened. A creature's 8 ruby-like pupils looked around as it wondered where it was. Hiss! It ejected black threads out of its mouth and spun a dark spider web as quick as it could, in case that there was any enemy. However, it sensed nothing dangerous. Where is this? Who am I? Where am I from? It had forgotten a lot of things, and only a sense of anger was lingering in its mind. Yes, it remembered. It was the king of dark shadow spider race, the king of spiders. It once dominated a wide area in the void, hunting all creatures who dared to enter its dark shadow web. In the dark void, prey was very rare. Unfortunately, it could go nowhere else. The dark shadow spider race had lived in the void for thousands and thousands of years. Only when void turbulence happened, there may some preys be involved in the void. Every time they found any prey, the whole dark shadow spider race would cooperate with each other to hunt down the prey and then decide if they should procreate new offspring according to the prey's weight and rank. The dark void was very desolate. Even at the best of times, their number wasn't more than 100. In order to survive, it ate its race's members one by one, until finally, there was only itself in the void. However, it didn't mind. This was what they were, forced by the cruel environment. In order to perpetuate their race, they didn't mind being unscrupulous. At any rate, even though it was alone, it was also a hermaphrodite at the same time. As long as it could find sufficient food, it could produce new offspring itself. Only the strongest individual could survive in the void, and as the king of spiders, it deserved to be the ruler of that area in the void. Since it wasn't possible to find new prey, it entered a dormant state, waiting for the next void turbulence in its sleep. According to its experience, it only needed to wait dozens of years before the next void turbulence happened. At that time, new prey would be dragged into this area by the void turbulence and become its food. However, a change occurred, which was earlier than it had expected. A fantastic silver creature tore apart the void, coming into this area from a very distant world. Strong, charming, at the first sight, its heart had been conquered by the silver creature's charm. It had nothing to do with race or gender. It was simply impressed by the silver creature's pure, strong power. Even though it was the king of spiders, it still thought that it was as negligible as dust in front of the creature's giant body and hazardous might. The silver creature broke the seemingly immutable void, forcibly opened a door leading to an unknown god's domain, then squeezed itself through that door. All beings in the void, including the beings it had seen and had never seen, went mad. On the other side of the door must be a vibrant world, which should be protected by the universe's rule at first, but now, it was opening up to them nakedly. To the beings in the void who struggled to live day after day, this world with endless food was a dreamy fairyland. At that moment, regardless of their race and rank, they all fell into a fanatic condition. They rushed towards the door like a swarm of hornets. The next moment, they were killed. Countless void beings who were far stronger and more terrifying than it, were chopped and minced by an ice-blue sword. In that instant, thousands of void beings had been killed by the sword. Sky Sword. After seeing the ice-blue sword, the terrible memory about Sky Sword, which had been imprinted in void beings' blood, revived in their minds. Yes, it was the rule, the field of Sky Sword God's domain. The giant, silver creature could break through the sword, unfortunately, they couldn't. The guardian of the door had never disappeared. However, it saw the cracks on the door. There was still a slight opportunity. Strong void beings had all been killed, but some weak creatures who were good at hiding had luckily entered the door. It was one of these lucky dogs. Its desire of producing more and more offspring made it overcome its fear. It stealthily moved close to the crack and came into the fantastic world. Unfortunately, it was severely injured when it crossed the door. Its body had been weakened to an incredibly feeble extent, and it caused its biggest failure in its life. At first, it was just a simple hunt to find more prey to produce offspring. However, it suffered a deadly blow which was even worse than what it had suffered when it slid through the crack. To save its life, it made its choice. It gave up its most important thing and ran away. I lost half of myself, the king of spiders. No, it had become the queen of spiders now. The queen of spiders raised its claw and looked at itself with its red, vicious eyes. It couldn't produce offspring anymore. After losing its male half, it would never have any chance to have new offspring. The dark shadow spider race would become totally extinct once it died too. It was an absolutely irreconcilable hatred. Chapter 177, The Birth of a Queen. Revenge. Revenge. It must kill the person who killed its male half at any cost. It must take revenge for the extinction of the whole dark shadow spider race. Insane murderous intent spread across its whole body as a bloody color sprawled over the black threads. Hiss. With painful roar echoed in the cave, the spider queen slowly moved towards the exit of the cave. Suddenly, it saw a strange crystal which was filled with green liquid. Countless sparkling green slimes jumped around inside the green crystal. If that was all, then it was just a common scene because it was not surprised to see slimes inhabiting caves. They were the lowest creatures in caves. However, these slimes were different. Hiss. After observing these slimes for a while, the spider queen shivered with a shocked expression in its 8 eyes. The green crystal was producing slimes at a fixed and high frequency. At short intervals, the green crystal would produce 100 slimes. At this speed, this cave should have been filled with countless slimes, but the number of slimes in this cave didn't change. Why? Because once the number of slimes in this cave reached a certain extent, a part of these slimes would suddenly vanish in this cave. Void transport. As a void creature, the spider queen immediately realized their movement method. Even if it was the dark shadow spider queen, it wouldn't be able to do it because only the beings whose power had reached the 7th rank could tear open space. The power of space was pretty rare even amongst all hero-ranked powers. It was said that it was close to the nature of the universe. The people who could control this power could even call themselves the god's domain's favorite. There, you are, a muffled sound suddenly rang in the spider queen's ears. It couldn't help but take a step back, curl up its legs and lower its head. As a void creature, it naturally noticed that the sound was from a presence that was far beyond its imagination, who had far surpassed any void creature it had ever seen. Perhaps only the holy, beautiful, silver creature was on a par with the presence. However, compared to the holy, beautiful, silver creature, this presence's voice was more evil, just like what it had often heard from its race members. Undoubtedly, it wasn't a benign existence. Surrender to me, and become my subordinate, the muffled sound from the green crystal echoed in the cave. After hearing it, the green slimes around the crystal started to evolve themselves at a high speed. The second stage, which Yun-Kei once told Yun-Shi about, was starting here, and was doomed to spread to the whole water god's world. Kill the slimes in this world to stop the slime race's evolution was just a whimsical joke. The source of the slimes in this world was right here, in this deep cave. As long as the green crystal hadn't been destroyed, the slime race's evolution would be unstoppable. It was the will of Sheolongness, the Sky Sword, the whole slime race's only child of God. Yes, the great child of God. The presences will touch the Spider Queen's mind, and immediately, the Spider Queen understood what a great existence it was facing. She was born in the lowest race, but finally became an inconceivably strong presence. She had thousands of appearances and avatars, and she was the embodiment of the whole slime race. As long as there was still any slime in the universe, she wouldn't die. She was the most weird Sky Sword, Sheolongness. To the dark shadow Spider Queen who had lived in the void all its life, Sheolongness was a presence that was greater than its wildest imagination. I grant you, human form, find the trace of the god in this world, for me. As green lights emerged from the crystal, one green slime after another turned into green mist and flocked to the dark shadow Spider Queen. The Spider Queen was covered with a layer of green mist. It crouched down in fear and twisted in pain. All its veins and nerves were permeated and infected by the green mist, turning to a strange direction. Even though she was still incomplete, she was still a sky sword, the strongest presence in the whole sky sword god's domain. Sheolongnes's will could transform the hero-rank Dark Shadow Spider Queen's body as easily as turning her hand. Hiss! Hiss! The green mist dissolved the queen's whole body and transformed it to a brand new form. Under the faint green light in the cave, a black-haired woman came into the world. Her hair was as dark as night, hanging down to her ankles. Her charming face stared at her body in wonder and confusion. Ugly! Why is this body so ugly? Even though any man would be enchanted by her perfect body at the first glance, unfortunately, it was a dark shadow spider. It didn't understand what this human form meant. Look for water god's apostles, then catch the apostle who wears a silver mask. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen didn't know if it was her illusion, however, she felt that the great sky sword, Sheolongnes, was grinding her teeth when she said it, as if the apostle with a silver mask had done something unforgivable to her. Your will is my life mission, my lady. Chapter 178, Yunkei's warning several days later. Yunshi hadn't known that he had been targeted by a most terrible presence in this world. He was preparing for the coming ceremony. 1, 2, 3, 100. After counting the loaves of bread in his storage again, Yunshi smiled with satisfaction. This was the 7th day since he had arrived in Water God's world. The time in this world was far faster than in the real world, therefore he didn't need to worry about his and the girls' bodies on the island. He would finish this trial in his best state, and today was the most important day in his plan. The people from the nearby 12 villages and faraway places were all waiting for the ceremony to start. It was hard to find out when this kind of ceremony, which combined its functions with blind dates, trade, and celebration, started. Perhaps it formed naturally in the villagers' daily communication. Once the ceremony started, it would become the most rumbling time of the year. The participants weren't just some villagers, because even some townspeople were keen to take part in the ceremony. This time, the ceremony was held in a village that was not far away from Lulu's village. Ever since 3 days ago, there had been caravans passing by this small village and they bought Lulu's potions and medicines at a high price, which made Lulu grin from ear to ear. Master, are you ready? Lulu lightly rapped on the door and looked at Yunshi in admiration. Yes. Take it, it's a bread I just made. Yunshi snapped his fingers. A hot butter loaf suddenly appeared in the air. Even though it was just common fresh bread which was far inferior to the bread in Yunshi's storage, however, it was still a treasure to Lulu. Oh! Master, how many girls will you propose to? Lulu nibbled the sweet bread and asked Yunshi in curiosity. About 11 girls. It would be better if I can find more suitable girls in the ceremony. Yunshi remembered the girls' faces, especially Huayu and Xiao Chao. If he could obtain their powers, his strength would leap to a new level. Yunkei's record had warned him that some elite slimes had appeared in other places. It wasn't good news at all. Obviously, Sheolongnes the Sky Sword wasn't going to give up on invading this world. In order to survive and finish his quest, this ceremony was crucial. Maybe Yunkei would feel very angry after knowing about his behavior, but he had no choice. Once remembering that the 11 girls he would propose to had all been recorded in Yunkei's scrolls, Yunshi felt stressed. Cough, it is really not my real intention. Master, cheer up. Her encouragement wasn't fake, because the girls in Water God's world must accept this fact. Strong people shouldn't have only one wife. They must marry as many girls as they could. As his first wife, she must take the responsibility. You are a good girl, Yunshi looked at Lulu with guilt. Fortunately, to Starwing's night girls, this world was just a dream. After they woke up, they would remember nothing. Yes, I'm a good girl. Since that is so, how about tonight? Lulu blushed and hinted at Yunxi. Ha ha ha, we should go. Yunxi noticed Lulu's eyes filling with anticipation. He stiffly changed the topic. It wasn't a problem to hold a courtship ceremony with her, after all, it was just a ceremony. However, he wouldn't do anything to Lulu, because he wasn't an animal in season. He felt that in this world, Lulu was more naive than when she was in the real world. What was the reason? The great stars, I only want to be an upright gentleman. Rivulet Village, which was known as the meandering rivulet beside the village, was having its busiest day today. Thousands of people from the nearby villages and cities had come to this quiet small village. Most of them were the protagonists of this ceremony, the unmarried girls from nearby villages, and the others were the young men who would do their best to propose to them. Due to this reason, some special goods were very popular here. Come here, come here. Look at the latest perfumes from the holy city. They were made by a third-ranked junior perfumer, who is also a 17-year-old beautiful girl. We have only 30 bottles of perfume. First come first served. Come here, come here. Look at the latest moisturizer made by Master Lulu. What? You don't know who Master Lulu is? She is the only third-ranked master in this area. I bought this new produce at 3 times price. Yoke grass is on sale. It said that if you can tie your lover with this grass, your marriage will be made in heaven. Guess lantern riddles. It's free to pick and choose whatever you like. Literally, these merchants knew what these girls liked. Perfume and moisturizer had all been bought in a quarter of an hour. Even the yoke grasses, which were quite a lot, had all been sold out in half a day. The ceremony was bustling from the early morning, and this vibrant scene was what Yunxi and Lulu saw when they arrived at this village. Gee! Yunkei! Why are you here? Yunxi gazed at the girl at the gate of the village in surprise. Humph! I knew you will come here at this time. Yunkei darted a look at Yunxi as if he was something dirty. She threw a scroll to him. I just found a new bride candidate. I warn you, you can do whatever you want to the other girls, but never put a finger on these bride candidates. Never. Yunkei raised her voice. Lulu was an exception, and I hope that she is the only exception. Do you understand? Beads of sweat dripped from Yunxi's forehead. What could he do now? Chapter 179, Dangerous Target, I've things to do. The 12 bride candidates are supposed to come here, and it's your responsibility to protect them. Don't forget your duty as a water god's apostle. Yunkei stared at Yunxi and turned away. Yunkei didn't want to work together with this man at all. She liked to follow prescribed order and obtained harvests with great effort. To her, Yunxi's existence itself was a paradox. He was so talented, holding 2 careers, hero-ranked baker and water god's apostle simultaneously. However, he actually loafed away his time all day and was only concerned with love and romance. What a waste! She didn't understand what this man was thinking. Obviously, water god's quest was the top priority, but he just wasted 7 days in the first village, and only cleaned the slimes around the village casually. Haha, sorry, Quebec. Yunxi sighed. Although it seemed that he was stealing what was entrusted to his care, but he didn't regret his decision. Today, he must propose to the 12 girls, saving these Starwing's night girls from becoming water god's bride candidates. Wait. 12. Shouldn't there only be 11 girls? Yunxi opened the scrolls he got from Quebec. He froze. Something he hadn't expected happened. This girl. She wasn't one of the Starwing's night girls. On the scroll, it was a beautiful woman with black hair and snow-white skin, who looked extremely noble. She didn't remember any Starwing's night girl that was so mature. She was like a queen out of a black fairy world. With a prideful, alluring, demon-like temperament, she stood quietly in the picture. Especially her deep eyes, which looked like a pair of soul-sucking abysses, leaving him a dark, dangerous and mysterious feeling. She was absolutely not a member of his Starwing's night. Who is she? Yunshi's heart pounded. Obviously, this was the first time he had seen this beautiful woman, however, he had a feeling that he had seen her before. Why do I feel nervous when I look at her picture? Can it be the so-called fall in love at first sight? Since she was specially selected by Yun-Kei, she must be unusual. Yunshi had this foreboding. She is beautiful. Lulu was jealous. She didn't know the reason, but when she looked at the picture, she felt disgusted and filled with hostility. No, I shouldn't be so narrow-minded. I shouldn't feel jealous. I'm the great apostle's first wife. Although Lulu reminded herself of this in her heart, she still felt that the mysterious black-haired woman was different. However, Lulu couldn't say which part was different. Yes, but it's strange, is she a native of this world? Yunshi took a close look at the picture, and was sure that he didn't know the black-haired woman. Then, why did his heart pound fast when he looked at the picture? What a mystery. Since she wasn't a member of his Starwing's night, she wouldn't subconsciously take a shine to him just like Lulu. It would be too difficult to pursue her. I shouldn't put her into the list of my fiancé candidates of now. Yunshi thought in his heart. After all, if she didn't want to marry him, his proposal would be meaningless. The girls must voluntarily accept his proposal, otherwise he wouldn't be able to finish side quest 4. She isn't one of my goals. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief after making this decision. Why? Why do I feel nervous even when I just look at her picture? What a pity. She is so beautiful. Lulu also let out a sigh of relief, then started to blame herself for her jealousy in her heart. Such a beautiful woman surely could be an excellent bride. Lulu, why are you so narrow-minded? You can accept other girls, why not her? Is it because of her age? Indeed, she is the most mature woman in the scrolls. Her attractive body surely can let the great apostle feel as if he is in heaven. Compared to herself, Lulu felt inferior looking at her own chest. She sighed at the unfairness of fate. Hoo-hoo, why do none of the medicines I know enhance breasts? Paw. Suddenly, a memory flashed through Lulu's mind. She rubbed her temple in confusion. Multi-headed demon dragon blood alliance. Some strange information suddenly appeared in Lulu's mind. Does such a monster exist in Water God's world? Okay, we should go. Yunshi reorganized his mood and walked to the bustling ceremony together with Lulu. In a cave which was 1 kilometer away from the village, the Spider Queen slowly stretched herself in the darkness. It wasn't very comfortable to walk in the outside world in her human form. She even spent 12 hours learning how to walk on 2 legs. When she had just walked out of the cave, she didn't even deviate from her habit of walking with 4 limbs. It was too hard to keep her balance when walking with 2 legs. Human's body structure was too inconvenient. However, for Sheolongness the Sky Sword, her current master's order, she had to appear in the human's world in this troublesome form. There was countless food in this world. Compared to the void, this world was too noisy. She had to refrain herself with great effort to not hunt the humans who walked on the streets with no self-protection awareness. Hiss. After weaving one dark shadow web after another, the Spider Queen finally stopped and transformed into her human form again. She had gradually gotten used to transforming between the two forms. It's time to hunt. The dark shadow spider queen put on the robe made of her black threads, exposing her dangerous eyes. Chapter 180, Ling Ling is tempted. Okay, I will start. I'm serious. I will really start. I will start. Whoa. It's too shameful. Yunshi looked at the girls around him, sweating profusely under their curious eyes. Following Lulu's suggestion, he sat on the square in the center of the village. Around him, there were hundreds of young men who had the same intention like him. The youngest boy was about 15 years old, and the oldest man looked like he was 50 years old. These young men were from different villages. According to tradition, they all put a small table in front of themselves. On the tables were the gifts they had prepared for the girls they would propose to, including perfumes, potions, unknown rare herbs, and homemade bone sculptures. They were the best things they could offer. Showing one's gift was a part of the ceremony tradition and the most important selection criteria to the girls who wanted to find the right person. The gift represented the man's career and the degree of his love. In order to marry the most excellent girl, countless young men rummaged their brains on choosing gifts every year. There were many tips. The most expensive gift isn't the best gift. If a man simply put gold bricks in front of him, he would be despised by everyone. The gifts must hit the right note with these girls. Gifts such as perfumes, skin moisturizers, flowers, and artworks were always very popular. There were not too many girls who would refuse to accept them. But today, there was a sort of gift that had never been seen by anyone before. Yes, there was the golden, soft, sweet, hot bread Yunshi put on the table in front of him. The golden bread had been slightly heated by Yunshi's water mist. Apart from Lulu, it was a brand new gift to all the girls at this ceremony. They didn't know what it was, but its special scent made them wonder if it was a type of food. But, how can any food in this world be so beautiful? From its golden color and the pure white decoration on it, isn't it a work of art? How can it be a food? It must be very expensive. Why would this man like to use it as a courtship gift at this rural ceremony? Looking at the 10 butter loaves Yunshi had put on the table, the girls around him froze. Almost everyone was attracted by these beautiful loaves of bread. Amongst these girls, 11 girls felt a sense of familiarity when they saw the loaves of bread, but also, they were sure that they had never seen these treasures before. In this old world, people hadn't learned how to process yeast and refine milk to cream. People couldn't imagine how to make bread. Moreover, Yunshi's bread was made of his hero-ranked miracle power. If Yunkei was here and saw Yunshi using the golden butter loaves as gifts, she would go crazy. If she had such bread when she was badly injured, she wouldn't have had to save her life in that shameful manner. Kadun. I'm hungry, Ling Ling wiped her mouth. She instinctively noticed that these golden things were food. They must be very delicious. No, she couldn't stand it any longer. Just go, Ling Ling. Ling Ling bravely walked towards Yunshi. Ling Ling, it's you, Yunshi smiled as he looked at the familiar girl in front of him. He still remembered that she was the most ardent one when these girls fought for his bread on the island. Ling Ling was a straightforward, cute girl. She never hid her desire, and her eyes never lied. Are they food? Ling Ling swallowed as she looked at Yunshi with longing. Yes. They are bread, Ling Ling. Yunshi gradually got rid of his nervous tension. The girl in front of him wasn't a stranger. She was the optimistic, vibrant girl who always followed behind Huayu in Starwing's night. Although her family had declined and become a dependency of Huayu's family, but Huayu and Ling Ling were on good terms. They were besties since their childhood. Even the sizes of their breasts were similar, making countless girls feel jealous. You know my name. Ling Ling pretended to be ladylike, but she couldn't stop her eyes continuously glancing at the bread, which had exposed her true intention. Yes. In fact, this isn't our first meeting. You like sweet, soft, hot food, don't you? Since Yunshi had made food for the Starwings night girls on the island for so many days, he had known Ling Ling's preferences very well. Her resistibility to sweet food was literally zero. Indeed, most girls liked sweet food, but Ling Ling's favoritism to sweet food was stronger than anyone's. In order to obtain his butter bread, she defeated one rival after another, finally becoming one of the top 5 amongst all the Starwings night girls. Intriguingly, although she liked sweet food, she wasn't fat at all, as if all the sugar she had eaten had been absorbed by some part of her body, making other girls feel extreme jealousy with their eyes green. Ah haha, you know about that. It's a little sheepish. Everyone in my village is very poor and we don't have a lot of honey and sugar. I shouldn't have such a luxurious taste. Lulu looked at Yunshi in embarrassment, then quickly stretched out her hand and grabbed one of the 10 butter loaves. You know what this means. Even though this was Yunshi's true intention, he still reminded her about the result of her choice. Ling Ling remembered the meaning of taking a man's gift at the ceremony. She blushed. Chapter 181, Ling Ling agreed. After a while, Ling Ling made her decision. I know. I'll marry you. Anyway, you don't look like a bad guy. Can I eat it now? Ling Ling's expression looked as if she was saying, I won't give it to anyone. She tightly grasped the golden loaf in her hands and took a big bite. The sweet smell of cream and flour instantly spread inside her mouth. To the people within this world, their daily food was simply some boiled rice and vegetables. The first bite of bread was irresistible to them. Oh! Ling Ling smiled happily. She seemed to have fallen into a nice fantasy. It's too delicious. If I can eat this food every day after I marry this man, it looks good to me. Mama said that I should choose someone who can make me feel happy, and I must take the man's heart once I make my choice. A good lady should believe in the man who had caught her heart. It's yummy. Ling Ling's eyes glowed as she gazed at Yunshi, as if she was trying to find out his true appearance hiding behind the mask. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief after seeing Ling Ling's burning eyes. The bread was effective. Although he shouldn't say it, but Ling Ling was the simplest one amongst all the Starwings night girls. She was easy to be tempted by toothsome food, and wasn't good at thinking. Maybe this was the reason why she was Hua Yu's bestie. After all, people all like to make friends with these kinds of people. Give me one more. After gulping the expensive 4th-ranked butter bread, Ling Ling gazed at Yunshi with longing, as if she was a golden dog who had been starved for several days. Don't worry, there are still a lot. As long as you like my bread, I will make them for you every day. Yunshi put 9 butter loaves into Ling Ling's arms, looking at her with a smile on his face. According to the traditional ceremony, as long as she accepted his gift and didn't accept other people's gifts after that, she would become his fiancée. You are tempting me, aren't you? I have a feeling that you're familiar, and this isn't the first time we have met. Ling Ling looked cheerful as she looked at the butter loaves in her arms. Maybe this was the so-called fate. She met the right man at the right time and at the right place. Why did he know that she couldn't refuse sweet foods? Yeah, perhaps I often made bread for you in our past lives. Yunshi teased. How could Ling Ling know that he had known everything about her? Sigh, I'm out. Ling Ling is too cunning. I came here first. Ling Ling is fastidious about food. I want to know how it tastes. Other girls sighed after seeing Yunshi put the bread into Ling Ling's arms. A lot of girls looked regretful. Ling Ling wasn't the only girl who was tempted by Yunqi's mysterious gifts. However, she was the most careless one, so she accepted Yunqi's proposal without thinking. Ling Ling, congratulations. You are the second now. Lulu ran towards Ling Ling, holding her hands with excitement. Lulu. Oh, since you are here, can this man be? Ling Ling covered her mouth after seeing Lulu. Lulu was one of the most excellent girls in this area. Naturally, Ling Ling had known who she had married. After all, this was one of the hottest topics in the nearby villages. So, he is the legendary water god's apostle. Puff, Yunqi wiped the sweat on his forehead away. When he proposed to Ling Ling, he wasn't as calm as other people thought. Fortunately, his breadth proved a sufficient lure. Plus Ling Ling subconsciously had a good feeling about him, so he could succeed. As expected, the number of his fiancées had increased to 2 in his star system. At the same time, a gust of new power was overlapped into his body, making him feel the power from Ling Ling clearly. Compared to Lulu's power, Ling Ling's power was hotter. Lulu's power was like a refreshing orchid, and Ling Ling's power was like an enthusiastic rose. Yunqi had a feeling he was like a gardener who was collecting flowers. Now, there were already 2 flowers in his garden. As a gardener, he must take care of these flowers mightily, and collect more and more flowers at the same time. The garden's power is his power. Hello, can I eat your bread? As Ling Ling smiled like an idiot, finally a girl plucked up her courage and spoke to Yunqi. Meilon, Yunqi looked up. He recognized that this girl was Meilon, Xiao Chao's assistant, Ling Ling's rival in Starwing's night. Unlike Ling Ling, who was born in a noble family, Meilon was one of the core people of Xiao Chao's camp. Xiao Chao didn't mind if she could lead a camp. She only wanted to practice her sword. However, the other civilian girls naturally formed a camp, taking her as the core. Meilon was Xiao Chao's camp's actual superintendent. Under her help, Xiao Chao became the Starwing's night vice leader, forming a camp to stand up to the noble girls' camp as an equal. At other times, Meilon was always very calm and acted like a strategist. But now, she acted as if she was a little girl whose toy was just stolen. She pouted with an unconvinced look on her face. In fact, Yunqi had noticed that she was the first girl who had found him and come to him. Although she had lost her memory and believed that she was a native, her leadership was still great. If she hadn't been born into a declined noble family, she wouldn't be inferior to Huayu. Chapter 182, Meilan's jealousness. Other than Lulu, most of the 12 bride candidates were under Meilan's leadership in the real world. This fact matched Yunqi's impression of Meilon. She naturally knew how to unite everyone as one. If it wasn't because Huayu's status was too high and she herself was the strongest female swordsman in the Starwing's night, Meilon would stand a chance to challenge Huayu's leadership. After all, she was able to be ranked 3rd on the rating list of the Starwing's night girls. And the person who fought for the 3rd place with her wasn't anyone else but Ling Ling, who looked silly but had great sword skill talent. To Meilon, even though Ling Ling was naive, innocent, and callow, she was also a girl who didn't play by the rules. Ling Ling was the most thorough rival in her eyes. Even though they had come to Water God's world and had lost their memories, this point hadn't been changed. As soon as she had first seen Yunqi's bread, Meilon had had a feeling that it was something unique in this world. Without any reason, or it was because of her instinct as a smart girl, she was the first person who figured out that bread was a kind of food. Then, they became incredible foods in her heart. And later, they became incredible foods that can even change the world. She was the only person who had realized how special Yunqi's bread was before obtaining any actual information. No matter whether it was the tempting smell, perfect golden color or artwork-like surfaces, Yunqi's bread was just like a treasure in a fairy tale, full of fatal attraction to Meilon. Her heart was touched. Because she knew how amazing Yunxi's bread was, so she was more eager for them than anyone. For the first time in her life, she had an impulsion of, I want it at any cost. However, her self-respect stopped her from surrendering to such a simple food so easily. It was wrong. I must be calm. I should exactly figure out what food this is first, then inquire from this man about its price and calculate how much money I can pay. Meilon thought in her heart. If I only want to have one bread, I think I can even haggle with this man. Isn't it? It won't cause any problem if I just take a look at this bread. Also, it won't be strange if I just ask this man his gift's origin and use. Other people were still wondering if these golden things were food, and Meilon had realized how fantastic this food was. Nobody could be smarter than her. She would undoubtedly be the first. So, first, I should be cautious and placid. Then, Ling Ling agreed to the man's proposal before she had had a chance to do anything. Ling Ling didn't hesitate and directly took a loaf in her hand. She didn't even get suspicious when she did that. She acted like a hungry little dog who had just found its master. She directly ran to the man and stole Meilon's treasure. Hey, don't you know a lady should be restrained? Why could you do it without thinking? Aren't you a lady? Aren't you a noble? Wait, why do I think that she is a noble girl? No, this isn't important. The most important thing is that she has stolen my treasure. Besides, is it really so delicious? What is with your contented expression? And what is with your blushing face? It can't be a love potion. Based on her understanding about Ling Ling, it must be very delicious, which corresponded to her previous judgment. Delicious, yummy, nice, good to eat. Looking at Ling Ling's happy face, Meilon was sure about it. How annoying. Why her? She's just an idiot, why is her instinct so sharp? I'm the one who found this magical food first. It was me. Ling Ling came to this place simply because she found out that I was here. At first, I thought that you could be my friend, Ling Ling. Too bad, you have become my enemy now. You're my enemy who has stolen my treasure. Even if you are going to die, I won't go to save you. I've decided to break with you once and for all. I will remember today's humiliation forever. Finally, Meilon couldn't stand it and walked to Yunxi's table. I still have an opportunity. The man who has this food hasn't left. Even though Ling Ling had stolen all my treasures, but at least, there is still a hope. Never give up until the last moment. I, Meilon, won't surrender so easily. Ah. Meilon, you also want it. Compared to Ling Ling, who was a natural socializer, Yunxi didn't know too much about Meilon. She was a rare smart girl whose mind was far more mature than her age. However, Meilon looked different today. Her eyes were red, as if she had just cried because her most important treasure was stolen. Her eyes looked desperate when she looked at Yunxi, as if she had suffered a huge psychological blow. Yes, can you give me one, great water god's apostle? I think that you are the only person who can get this food. Am I right? Unlike Ling Ling, Meilon had known Yunxi's identity from the beginning. After all, his silver mask was too special. Even though his clothes were simple and provincial, his temperament was still tempting to young girls. Even if he didn't put anything on his table, he would still be noticed by many girls. When he arrived at this square, he had become the focus in the girls' eyes. He just hadn't realized it. Haha, as expected, I can't hide from your eyes. Yunxi smiled in embarrassment. He didn't purposely hide his identity. It was simply because no one would expect that an apostle would come to this ceremony. In this world, water gods' apostles were exalted. If he said it, he wouldn't need to join this ceremony and many nobles would scramble to marry off their daughters to him. Chapter 183, The Second Fallen One. No one had expected that a great water god's apostle would come to this remote village and participate in the ceremony. However, Meilon had guessed right. She knew who this man was clearly, and only people like him could take out such fantastic food without hesitation. At the first glance, Meilon had had a strong urge to eat this golden food. She wanted to prove her instinct and judgment. Meilon had had thousands of ideas about this fantastic food which could even change the world. She had never felt so good. But now, they had all gone. Ling Ling messed all her plans and longings. She is a humanoid demon. She is simply a shameless idiot. Her head is empty and the nutrition she had absorbed was all gathered in her beasts. What a nasty creature. She didn't know the baseline of being human. I will never forgive you. Never. You have just stolen and eaten my treasure. I will remember this. I will never forget today's humiliation and gaffe. Give you, Meilon. Let's eat together. When Meilon was going to express her anger, a snow-white small hand suddenly appeared in front of her eyes holding a golden loaf of bread. You, Meilon inanely gazed at Ling Ling, who was eating her bread with a bright smile. It was such a precious food, how could she want to share it with me? What is she thinking? Cough. Sorry, I misunderstood you, Ling Ling. You are indeed a human. Be confident in yourself. Meilon looked at Ling Ling in a different light. What do you think I am? I always think that I'm a human and have never lost confidence in myself. Ling Ling looked at Meilon with a "what are you talking about" expression on her face. Well, in fact, I still have a lot of bread. Yunxi immediately took out some bread from his store. Gee. You still have bread? Ling Ling's eyes brightened up. You still have bread? Meilon was shocked. He still had a lot of this kind of amazing food. It's impossible. Meilon didn't know how this food was made, but she could feel the special qualities it contained. This was why she thought that this food could change the world. It must be expensive. According to Meilon's calculation, she thought even all the wealth in the 12 villages couldn't buy the 10 loaves at all. This was why she lost her cool after Ling Ling took away all the bread on Yunxi's table. She didn't think that this food could be made easily. If Yunke was here, she would agree with Meilon's idea without prior consultation. However, it was actually very easy to make this food. What a hero-ranked baker could do was far beyond a mortal's imagination. As long as Yunxi had made a sample, he could continuously make the same bread without raw materials. Moreover, he could even store them in his storage and make them become more delicious and effective as time went by. To Yunxi, nothing would become a problem when he was making bread. He had reached the hero rank, which meant that he could already control the energy between heaven and earth. Magic, divine spell, Taoist spell, battle chi, hero-ranked combat careers were incredibly strong. However, hero-ranked non-combat careers were strong too, just in a different form. Impress, mediate, create object from nothing, exclusive storage, nothing was impossible. Meilon wouldn't be able to figure out Yunxi's special abilities if she only based her guessing on common sense. So, when Yunxi took out more bread and put them on the table, Meilon was stunned. Unlike other village girls, Meilon clearly knew how special these golden loaves of bread were. They were 10 times more expensive than all the other things in this ceremony. Do you want to eat this? Yunxi casually took up a loaf and handed over it to Meilon. Meilon hesitated. At this moment, many thoughts were hovering in her head. What was the change this golden food would bring to this world? How would her life be changed if she accepted it? If she accepted the apostle's gift, would she become happy? Smart people always think too much. Yunxi waited for a while, but Meilon hadn't accepted the bread. He even thought that his proposal had failed. Take it. Finally, Ling Ling helped Mei Lan make the decision. She took the bread from Yunshi's hand and put it in Mei Lan's hand. It's yummy. You will regret if you miss this opportunity, Mei Lan. Mei Lan saw the light suddenly after hearing Ling Ling's words. It was true. She couldn't miss this. It was about her fate. Unlike all her choices in her past life, this time, she was standing at the crossroads of her fate. If she accepted the bread, it meant that she had accepted the apostle's proposal and touched the string that could change the world. If she gave up and declined the bread, it meant that she had given up a chance to change the world and her endless possibilities. So, she had to make a choice. Mei Lan looked at the man who wore a silver mask. She had imagined what Water God's apostle looked like in her past life many times, but this time, it was her first opportunity to observe an apostle so closely. Why? Isn't this our first meeting? Why do I feel wishful? Perhaps this was her fate. She had made her choice subconsciously, hadn't she? I'm Mei Lan. Please take care of me from now on, great apostle. She was the smartest girl in the Star Wings night. When she accepted his proposal, her shy expression made Yunshi's heart palpitate with excitement. He had his third fiancée. Chapter 184. The situation is out of control. The first step is always the hardest. After Mei Lan accepted his bread, everything went smoothly. Give me one. Please give me one. Well, I also want a loaf of bread. Looking at the cute girls who were asking for his bread, Yunshi had a feeling that he wasn't in a ceremony but a merchant who was selling his goods to hungry schoolgirls. Don't they know the meaning of taking his bread? No. They knew it. This was why their faces were blushing. However, they couldn't refuse his bread, the fantastic food that had never appeared in Water God's world before. They could do nothing but expose their true hearts. After a while, Yunshi had sent out the second row of the loaves of bread he just took out from his storage. Aside from Lulu, Ling Ling, and Mei Lan, other Star Wings night girls were enjoying his bread with happiness. Looking at their smiling faces, Yunshi was at a loss. Subconsciously, Yunshi put the third row of the loaves of bread on the table, then they were immediately snatched up by the girls. By now, the 12 Star Wings night girls had all signed contracts with Yunshi, which was only at the cost of 3 rows of bread. The number in his side quest for had increased to 12. Success came as a surprise, which even made Yunshi feel confused. In fact, his trouble had just begun. Well, do you still have more bread? We also want to eat them. What does bread taste like? Why do they look so happy? More and more girls came and surrounded Yunshi. They weren't members of Yunshi's Star Wings night but the real natives from Water God's world. Compared to the Star Wings night girls, they were shyer and more reserved. However, when they saw the happiness on the faces of these Star Wings night girls, they couldn't help but wonder. Sorry, the bread I prepared for proposing has all been eaten. However, if you just want to eat bread, I still have some. Yunshi immediately shook his head. He had no intention of marrying these indigenous girls. In fact, if it wasn't because of side quest 4, he didn't want to do this at all. He wanted to be an upright gentleman. Now, it will be the time to witness the miracle. Yunshi smiled. Since he didn't need to force himself to propose to anyone from now on, he thought that he could display his hero-ranked ability as a trick to amuse these girls. Praise the sun for granting us light. Praise the earth for granting us food. Paw! Yunshi snapped. A loaf of sweet, hot butter bread suddenly appeared in the air. It wasn't a 4th-ranked golden butter loaf. A 4th-ranked golden butter loaf would take a lot of Yunshi's energy to make. This was just a common, 3rd-ranked loaf of bread which couldn't improve vitality or moisturize skin. Yunshi could only make 100 fourth-ranked bread in a day. However, it was easy for him to make 1,000 third-ranked loaves of bread. If he only wanted to make the most common white bread, he could even make up to 10,000 loaves in a day. This was his special hero-ranked ability. If he had sufficient raw materials, he could even support an army all by himself. No combat career could do this. Come and eat them. You're all welcome. Yunshi had a superficial knowledge of the ceremony. He casually gave these loaves of bread to the girls. They are not as good as the bread I made before, but they are delicious too. Don't worry, they are just some presents on our first meeting. Yunshi smiled brightly. He put a pile of loaves of bread before these girls who had waited for a long time. The girls looked at each other. They were not members of Yunshi's Starwings Night, and they didn't subconsciously feel an affinity towards Yunshi. To them, accept Yunshi's gift meant a lot. Finally, a girl made her decision. I'll go first. Can you give me a loaf of bread? A noble girl gently lifted her skirt and bowed to Yunshi, then took away a loaf of bread. Her behavior was like a domino effect, immediately setting off a chain reaction. The girls had already been tempted by the smell of Yunshi's bread. They succumbed to their desire one after another. Just like Meilon had guessed, the people in this old world had never seen this fantastic golden food before. They couldn't resist the temptation. The bread made by the hero-ranked baker, Yunshi, was undoubtedly a great temptation to them. Master's actions look smooth. It's great. Lulu looked at them and smiled from the bottom of her heart. Therefore, she would have a lot of partners. Strange. He could marry a lot of girls in a much simpler manner. Why did he use these priceless things as gifts? Meilon nibbled her bread and wondered in her heart. He was a water god's apostle. He could marry a lot of girls easily. As long as he came to big cities and spread his intention, countless nobles and rich men would marry their daughters off to him. Why did he want to come to this remote village and present these precious treasures to us? Yummy, yummy, awu. We don't need to think too much. I would be satisfied as long as I can eat this delicious food every day. Ling Ling babbled as she swallowed her bread. No. There must be something we don't know. What's his intention? Meilon pondered. She sensed danger from Yunshi's unusual behavior. No, it's too bad. Yunshi was sweating profusely at this time. I had told them that these loaves of bread were not engagement gifts and I just invited them to eat them. Why are the number of my fiancés continuing to increase? This situation is out of control. Chapter 185, Water Mist Field. What happened? 12, 13, 14. After Yunshi presented his bread, the number of his fiancés was continuously increasing. After he realized that, it was already too late. 107. This was the last number after the bread on Yunshi's table had all been taken away. Why didn't the number keep increasing? Because it had reached the limit. No, it wasn't Yunshi's limit but the number of the girls in this ceremony. Oh my god. Who is this guy? No. I just bought a bottle of perfume with all my property. Gosh. This man has so many treasures. Why would he like to come to this ceremony in this remote village? Don't make fun of us. Why would such an honored man like you come to a place like this? All the young men around Yunshi whined, trying to kill him with their eyes. However, they just stared at him. No one dared to do anything. Strong people obtain everything. Strong people take all. It was the natural rule of the world. In Water God's world, strong people naturally obtained wealth, status, and honor, because there were horrible monsters hiding in the mist and ordinary people needed their protection. Ordinary people instinctively worship strong people. Yunxi was such a man. No one would think that he was an ordinary person after he took out such fantastic food. If the first row of golden butter loaves of bread were prepared in advance, then how would one explain the second and third row of loaves of bread? Moreover, everyone had seen Yunxi creating bread from nothing. It could explain this mysterious masked man's true power. He must be a hero-ranked person. The silver mask man wasn't at the same level with them. After Yunxi displayed that he could make food from nothing, the native girls finally decided to accept Yunxi's gifts with excitement. Why? Because to them, Yunxi's behavior wasn't just share my food with them as Yunxi thought, but a right. Yunxi underestimated the meaning of hero-ranked people in this world. He underestimated the temptation of his bread to these girls too. No girl who had taken bread from Yunxi thought that it was just a present out of kindness. Such a priceless treasure shouldn't be presented with no cost. Yunxi's self-righteous idea wasn't in keeping with the rules in this world. Accept Yunxi's bread was equivalent to accept Yunxi's proposal. No one treated it as a joke, especially after Yunxi exposed his hero-ranked power. No one thought that they would regret it. Strong people couldn't be suspected or defied. You could refuse to accept their gift, and it was your choice to do so. Normally, hero-ranked people wouldn't force ordinary people to do something for them. However, once you made a choice and accepted the hero-ranked person's gift, there was no turning back. It was a common rule in Water God's world. In this old world, honesty and morality even overrode the law. Everyone in this world agreed with it. In White Lotus Sword domain, sharing some loaves of bread with others was just an insignificant thing, but this was Water God's world. Yunxi mistakenly assumed that it wasn't significant in this world too. After Yunxi realized what a mistake he had made, it was already too late. No. It shouldn't be. Yunxi put on a long face. Looking at the girls who had started to chat about what clothes and jewelry they should wear at their wedding ceremony, Yunxi felt that his outlook had crashed. He had just wanted to propose to the 11 Star Wings night girls. At first, he encountered little twists and turns, but he solved them smoothly. Ling Ling felt his enthusiasm and helped him complete his plan. Everything would be perfect if only this and nothing more. If he knew that the situation would get out of his control, he wouldn't present his bread to these girls. Yunxi, you're dead. I have 107 fiancés now. Oh my God, what should I do? How can I be an upright gentleman from now on? This is too bad. Power was continuously being poured into Yunxi's body. The power from the Starwings night girls and the native girls had all overlapped within his body, making him feel that he was going to explode. If it wasn't because of the cold feeling from his water god's mask, which significantly relieved the hot feeling in his body, he would have gone mad. Yunxi could clearly feel the endless potential contained in his flesh and blood, which he had vaguely felt in his first limit practice, but it hadn't been as clear as it was now. Yunxi's power rose suddenly and sharply after obtaining the power from his 107 fiancés. The range of the mist he could control had increased to 10 miles, which had actually become his field. Gee! This feeling, Yunxi was exploring his 10 miles water mist field when suddenly, he noticed a black spot in his water mist field. He focused his attention onto the black spot, and gradually, the black spot became a clear figure. It was a black-haired woman who was bathing under a waterfall at the source of the stream beside the village. She stood in the water, letting the pure water wash her perfect body. Her skin was snow-white and slightly red, as translucent as crystal. Her slender body was graceful and exquisite, as flawless as a beautiful gem. Her breasts were towering and heaving, as lofty as 2 towers. Her legs were perfect and slender, which gave Yunxi a feeling that they shouldn't appear in a mortal's world. Plus her slender, soft, pink feet, her beauty was seductive and breathtaking. Chapter 186, Dangerous Encounter. It's her. Yunshi immediately realized who the woman under the waterfall was. Yunshi looked at her knee-long black hair, enchanting face, perfect slender legs and soft feet. She just stood there, but could naturally catch his eyes. Unlike the immature Starwings Night girls, even a glance from her would let any man descend into madness. She was the only water god's bride candidate in Yunkei's scrolls that wasn't a member of Yunshi's Starwings Night. No. I should stop snooping. Yunshi's nose almost started to bleed. He covered his nose and quickly looked away. If he had continued to look, he would have seen some weird things that were popping out from the waterfall. They were green gem slimes, which looked different from ordinary green slimes. Their bodies were much greener and they had crystal-like cores in their bodies. After gushing out from the waterfall, those green gem slimes scrambled to attach themselves on the black-haired woman's skin and instantly turned into green lights, integrating into her body. Alongness the Sky Sword was increasing the speed of her third stage. Hiss. After Yunshi averted his eyes, the Dark Shadow Queen stretched herself under the waterfall. She frowned as she touched her slender legs awkwardly. After a while, she had put on her black spider web robe and wore a gorgeous spider-style headdress, like a queen of darkness. She slowly walked on the path leading to the village. Now, she was only about a kilometer away from the village. With every step that she took, there would be green slimes jumping onto her from the bushes or stream, integrating into her body. When she appeared at the entrance of the village, all the men looked at her and were amazed. Compared to the figure Yunshi saw through his water mist field, her true body was more seductive. Her eyes were cold and void, but it made her become more mysterious, making people want to conquer and obtain her. Her perfect body shape, slender legs, and full breasts contained fatal attractions to men. Water gods, Apostle, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen licked her lips. She didn't mind the people's eyes and walked straight to the square where Yunshi was. When she walked, the people around her all fell into silence. Her charm hadn't only enthralled men, but also fascinated females. They could barely believe that such a beautiful woman really existed in this world. No, she is coming, Yunshi had a guilty conscience. Naturally, he had already noticed her. She isn't looking for me. She isn't looking for me. We are not involved. It was just a misunderstanding. She shouldn't have noticed me. Yunshi sweated profusely. He stood up and was ready to run away. He had a foreboding that this black-haired woman wasn't easy to deal with. She wasn't at the same level with the Starwings Night girls and the innocent native girls. Unfortunately, his strong sense of foreboding came true. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen ignored everyone else in the village and directly walked up to Yunshi. As a hunter in the dark void, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen naturally knew how to find its prey. In the whole village, there was only one hero-ranked human. He was as bright as the sun in the sky and could never hide himself. I found you, it's you. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen walked to Yunshi's table and lowered her head, gazing at Yunshi who was at a loss now. Why yes. What can I do for you? Yunshi nervously gazed at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen. Why? They just looked at each other but Yunshi felt extreme strain. Pang. 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 His heart pounded wildly, but he was sure that he just saw the black-haired woman eye to eye for the first time. You are the man who was looking at me, aren't you? The Dark Shadow Spider Queen exposed Yunshi's disguise without mercy. He was the only hero-ranked person here. It couldn't be anyone else who was peeping at her just now. Besides, she sensed a trace of mist around Yunshi, which put her on guard just now. She was a top-class hunter in the void. She wouldn't mistake it. Sorry. I didn't mean to. Yunshi had to raise his arms and surrender. He had realized that his disguise was useless. Water Mist, are you a water god's apostle? The dark shadow spider queen hid her murderous intent and asked. However, her eyes were still empty and vacant. In fact, she wasn't using her eyes to observe the world. All spiders had bad eyesight because they didn't need eyes to see things in the dark void. She used her web to hunt. Not only the web made by her dark shadow thread, but also included her web of sense. At this moment, the dark shadow spider queen had locked onto her only enemy in the village, Yunxi, in her web of sense. Pang! 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 Yunxi's heart beat faster. He swore that he had never felt so nervous in the face of any woman. Why? Why couldn't he stop his heart from pounding when he looked at the mysterious black-haired woman? This was just their first meeting. Well, do you want to eat bread? Yunxi suddenly had an idea. He took out a fourth-ranked butter loaf of bread, which he was prepared for proposing to the Starwings night girls. Food. The dark shadow spider queen paused for a short while. Dark shadow spider race always suffered hunger in the void. They wouldn't waste a bit of food at any time. Moreover, Yunxi's bread wasn't some common food, but a fourth-ranked butter loaf, which could significantly replenish one's energy and vitality. If Yunxi hadn't taken out the bread but something else, the dark shadow spider queen would have captured Yunxi and taken him away. Chapter 187. The Queen's Satisfaction. The dark shadow spider queen pinched the fourth-ranked butter bread and sniffed. Her instincts told her that it was a good thing which she had never seen in the void. After she transformed into human form and walked around in this world, she had seen hundreds of types of foods. Even so, the bread was also the most perfect food she had seen. A loaf of bread could replenish 1/10 of her energy. Don't think that 1/10 is negligible. When it was still in the void, it always slept through the period of food shortage. Only when the dark shadow web it had weaved felt the trace of turbulence flow in the void, it would wake up. Even so, most of the time, the prey it caught couldn't even provide more than half of the energy this bread could provide her, which meant that as the king of dark shadow spider race and the top-class hunter in the void, most of the time in its life, it experienced extreme hunger. When the energy couldn't even support them to sleep, dark shadow spiders would gather together and hunt each other, so that the whole race could continue to survive in the void. After eating all other dark shadow spiders, it became the king of spiders, the strongest spider of its race. In the void, the most common rule was the survival of the strongest. However, all other spiders have been eaten also meant that the dark shadow spider race had reached the point of extinction. If it couldn't find sufficient food when the next void turbulence appeared, the whole dark shadow spider race would vanish from the universe. Fortunately, because the white holy dragon broke the void, it saw glimmers of hope. Taking this opportunity, it arrived at the sunny, vibrant white lotus sword domain. Then, misfortune happened. It was defeated by a group of little bugs and lost half of its body, becoming the dark shadow spider queen. With a devout look on her face, the dark shadow spider queen carefully put the hot bread in her mouth and nibbled this priceless food. Her white teeth chewed, then swept every crumb of the bread in her mouth with her smooth tongue. She was so careful that she didn't even leave a drop of cream on the corner of her mouth. The dark shadow spider queen had been starved for many, many years. For the first time, she had tasted how wonderful humans' food was. The slimes she ate before were just like sawdust compared to the bread. When her body absorbed those green slimes, she felt nothing. Those slimes were absorbed by her body like water, and if she hadn't eaten Yunxi's bread, she would have thought that it was a matter of course because eating was just a behavior of supporting life. But now, she knew she was wrong. Totally wrong. Perhaps because her body was in human form, her sense of smell, taste and vision were all like real human. The wonderful taste of Yunshi's bread had just opened a door for her, leading her to a brand new world. At the same time, her true body could feel the same happiness too. Yunshi was a hero-ranked baker. His bread could replenish all hero-ranked beings' energy and vitality, no matter what race the being was. Which meant that no matter it was the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's human form or her spider form, both of her forms were very satisfied with Yunshi's bread. She even had an illusion that she had never lived before she ate the bread. Does it taste good? Looking at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's happy face, Yunshi let out a sigh of relief. His heartbeat had returned to normal, which meant that his nervousness had disappeared. As expected, food was the simplest way to communicate between people. It seemed that the black-haired beauty was very satisfied with his bread. It is really good that I have become a 4th-ranked baker before I came here. Delicious, tastes good. I'm satisfied. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen's voice sounded hoarse, because she wasn't used to speak in her human form. Even so, her voice sounded indescribably tempting, as if she was an abyss that was luring humans. You are special. After eating the first loaf of bread, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen stretched out her hand to Yunshi again. You want more? Yunshi embarrassedly looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen, who was too close to him. Her white breasts made him feel dizzy. Yes, if you don't give me. I will eat you. Obviously, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen wasn't used to human language. She directly threatened Yunshi. Ah ha ha, don't worry. I'll give you. Yunshi blushed looking at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's deep, beautiful eyes. Did she just flirt with me? She was too straight. As expected, she was different from the Star Wings Night Girls. She was a proactive, sexy woman. This is the second. If you want more, I still have more. Yunshi took out another loaf of bread from his storage. How much of this food do you have? The Dark Shadow Spider Queen was very concerned about this point. After all, the quality and number of food was directly related to the race's survival and future. Well, about 60 loaves of bread. Yunshi didn't know the reason, but he naturally felt that this black-haired beauty was different from any woman he had seen. Probably it was because of her age. Her charm was totally different from his childhood sweethearts, Wahua, Miley, and Yili. Her each and every move could make Yunshi's heart pound faster. No man in the world could refuse her temptation even though they knew it was just like a flying moth darting into the fire. How much of this food can you make every day? The Dark Shadow Spider Queen nibbled the bread and estimated her current state. After becoming Shay Alongness, the Sky Sword subordinate, she could eat as many slimes as she liked. Even so, those slimes still hadn't helped her recover to her perfect condition. Incidentally, she had just met a green hippo not long ago, who had become a good meal for her. Unfortunately, the green hippo's meat was too rough, not delicious at all. Of course, she didn't realize it till she had eaten Yunshi's bread. Before then, there were only 2 things in this world, the things she could eat and the things she couldn't eat. Nothing was about deliciousness. Chapter 188. The Queen's Threat. After eating Yunshi's bread, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen finally understood that there were 2 types of food in this world, the food that could simply be used to replenish her energy and Yunshi's bread. Compared to all the food she had eaten, Yunshi's bread was unique and fantastic. If one evaluated food's quality with number, then a green slime was 1, a green hippo was 10, and Yunshi's bread was 999. Which meant that a loaf of Yunshi's bread was equivalent to 100 green hippos. No. I shouldn't calculate it like that. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen shook her head. Even 1,000, no, 10,000 green hippos couldn't be equivalent to a loaf of Yunshi's bread. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen couldn't find anything that was more precious than Yunshi's bread in this world. As a person who could make this food, undoubtedly, Yunshi had become special in the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's eyes. How much of this food could Yunshi make every day? His answer would decide her attitude to him. About 100, Yunshi didn't think that he needed to hide it. Of course, it was because he knew too little about common fourth-ranked cook's upper limit. 100. Obviously, this number was much higher than the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's imagination. Even though she knew very little about this world, she still knew what this meant. If there was a fantastic creature who had the same ability in the dark void, the creature would undoubtedly be seized by the strongest overlord in the void. Common races like the Dark Shadow Spider race wouldn't even be allowed to see this treasure with their eyes. God's domain worlds were no wonder full of miracles. If she hadn't lost half of its body, probably it would have produced many, many offspring, making the whole Dark Shadow Spider race prosper again. Water gods, apostle, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's eyes became firm. She licked her lips. I have decided. I will capture you. You must become my thing. In front of the Starwings Night Girls, the native villagers, and Yunshi, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen announced. This was a sign which meant that she had prepared to hunt. In the past, she used soul-stirring sound wave to announce it, and now, she used her mouth to announce it. Whoa! This big sister is proposing to him. He is a water god's apostle. She knows it and still proposed to him. She has guts. A woman proposed to a man proactively. It's rare. Who is this beauty? After hearing her announcement, the people around her was first shocked and then showed an, as expected, expression on their faces. In this world, strong people were respected. They had natural advantage on everything. A woman proposes to a man only meant one thing. The woman thought that she was stronger than the man, so that she had the confidence to say it. Yunshi had exposed his hero-ranked power. After seeing this and having accepted his gift, the black-haired woman still proposed to him proactively. The only reason that could explain it was as she is a hero-ranked person too. Maybe she was even stronger than Yunshi, so that she didn't fear to propose to him. Master has great charm. Even such a beauty has been captivated by him. Lulu looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen enviously. She secretly compared their body shapes and felt ashamed of herself. Woo, why the gap between two people was so wide. She is right. The apostle has unlimited potential. Even though she is stronger today, it's just temporary. The apostle will change this world. Basing on the information she had obtained and her instinct, Meilon made a judgment. I think, doesn't she like the food named bread too much? Ling Ling looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen and murmured, which was very close to the truth. Maybe it was because she and the Dark Shadow Spider Queen were somewhat similar. I become your thing. Yunshi felt that his heart beat faster. Yes, become my unique treasure that nobody can take away. You are eligible. After transforming into its human form, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen had never said so many words like this time. Her horse sounded more seductive under these circumstances, as if she was sweeping a net that never allowed any prey to escape away from it. Haha, you're sure you don't want to reconsider? Yunshi's mouth parched and his tongue scorched. Why? He looked at the black-haired beauty who was approaching him and his heart couldn't stop from pounding. He had never had the same feeling, but he felt familiar with it. You have no choice, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's eyes became dangerous. Yes. Even though she had left the cold, empty dark void, she still wanted to capture Yunshi, who could produce high-quality foods. This food named bread had changed her view to the definition of food. She couldn't imagine how would she survive if she couldn't eat bread again. Revenge and obtaining all good things in the world were the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's two instincts, which were only slightly inferior to her instinct of producing offspring. After losing her male part, she could never have any offspring. Therefore, they had become the two strongest desires of her. As long as she could eat high-quality foods, she would become stronger and stronger, and would finally be able to find the girl who killed its male part and tear her into pieces. You, don't push hard on me. Although Yunshi had had 107 fiancés, he still didn't know how to deal with this black-haired beauty. Perhaps it was because she was too proactive and left no room for him. Since his childhood, he had never met such a overwhelming, queen-like beauty. The small village he was born in wouldn't have such a queen-like beauty. Choose. Become my thing or to be eaten by me. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen directly gave Yunshi two choices. In fact, he had no choice. Chapter 189, In the Deep Dark Cave, Eat, She is Bold. Where will she start? From feet? No. Generally, it starts from the lips. The married women listened the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's confession with a sort of knowing smile on their faces. The unmarried girls blushed, secretly looking at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen, who was looking hard at Yunshi and waiting for his answer. Whoa! I envy her. If I have her body and charm, I will do the same thing, Lulu murmured. She felt more self-abased as she looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen that drove Yunshi up the wall. She is so leisured and seductive. Perhaps I can never learn these in my life, Lulu thought in her heart. What should I eat so that I can have the same slender legs and full breasts like her? Dragon Blood Alliance. Dragon Blood Alliance. Dragon Blood Alliance. Almost at the same time, these strange words suddenly appeared in these Starwings Night girls' hearts, except the only girl who didn't need to worry about this. It was a scream from their souls. It was the last hope of countless unfortunate girls in countless gods' domains. It was the source of the multi-headed dragon's unhappy life. It was all because its dragon blood could be used for breast enlargement. If possible, I will choose the first option. Yunshi looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen, not knowing whether to cry or to laugh. He didn't know how to deal with this kind of females. She was too proactive. But, why? He hadn't received any prompt from his system, and the number of his fiancés also hadn't increased. Is there anything wrong? It's a smart choice. I will take care of you. Come with me, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen said. She raised her head and threw out her chest with satisfaction, announcing her victory to everyone. What? Come with you. Yunshi looked at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen in confusion. What was she saying? Since you have become my thing, then of course you should leave with me. You don't have a choice. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen caught Yunshi's hand and looked at him up and down, then frowned. Wait. I haven't. Before Yunshi finished his words, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen had pulled him up and used her ability, Mass Teleport. Other people only saw a dark shadow appeared in the air, then the Dark Shadow Spider Queen and Yunshi disappeared. From the beginning, capture the Water God's Apostle was the Spider Queen's goal. Sheolongness, the Sky Sword didn't say that the Apostle must be alive, and to her character, she believed that the only good prey is dead prey. However, she hadn't expected that this prey was a magical human who could make fantastic foods. It would be a great waste if she killed him. Therefore, she decided to let this Apostle become her thing and let him make delicious bread for her every day. Ah! The Apostle and the woman just disappeared. Lulu exclaimed. She worried about Yunshi's security. Ha 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 ha, of course, they will disappear. She had said that she would eat him. Of course she would take him to her sweet home and eat him bit by bit. Little girl, you are still too young. Don't ask about that, the married women covered their mouths as their expressions were saying, "Little girl doesn't need to know what will happen." Really? Is that so? After being reminded, Lulu finally realized it. Hoo-hoo, I'm still immature. I don't understand what happened at all. How would she eat him? Don't worry, the apostle will return very soon. You can prepare some potions that can be used to replenish energy, although I don't think he needs them, Meilon said with disdain and looked at the position where Yunshi just disappeared. They were a man and a woman. What will happen between them? It's easy to guess. Unfortunately, she didn't have other choice. After accepting the apostle's proposal, she could never regret. Besides, she wasn't going to regret. She was a smart girl. She wouldn't regret for her choice. However, she just couldn't stop the words, Dragon Blood Alliance, from appearing in her mind. What did it mean? Oh, it's yummy. Ling Ling was still intoxicated with the delicious bread, showing a silly smile on her face. On the other side, Yunshi was facing his biggest crisis after arriving at Water God's world. He was in a cave, in completely darkness. The only dim light was from the green slime gem on his wrist. Hiss! Yunshi couldn't see what it was, but his clothes was instantly ripped off by something. Tell me, what's the organ you use to produce that food? The Dark Shadow Spider Queen's voice sounded seductive. She was performing Dark Shadow Spider Race's special mind-affecting magic. Organ? No, there is no such thing. Yunshi felt both funny and annoying. He thought that the mysterious black-haired woman wanted to do something special to him, so she brought him here. She was really unusual. Would any ordinary woman bring a man to a deep, dark cave and take off the man's clothes after proposing to the man? She was too proactive. It's impossible. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen refused to accept it. Even in the Dark Void, equivalent exchange was a basic rule of all things. There must be an organ. She couldn't understand Yunshi's hero-ranked special ability. After all, there was no hero-ranked baker in the void, and she didn't think that any hero-ranked being could create object from nothing. Moreover, Yunshi's ability was to create 100 loaves of bread in a day. It was far beyond her imagination. It was too illogical. It was in violation to the law of conservation of mass. Chapter 190, Silence and Hotness. Void creatures had their special ecological system in the void. Different void race had different, special body structure, which was based on the character of their race. For example, Dark Shadow Spider had a special organ named Dark Shadow Spinneret, which could make Dark Shadow Spider silk and form an unexceptionable spider web, and this special organ was the core to support the Dark Shadow Spider race to survive in the void. Most void creatures wouldn't be killed even if their hearts had been pierced through. However, if their special organ was broken, it wouldn't heal itself and naturally, they would be eliminated in the void. Therefore, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen firmly believed that Yunshi was making the bread by using his special organ. In her view, he made these high-quality foods at the cost of his life force. This was the only reason that could explain his ability. A loaf of bread was just as big as a palm, but could actually recover 1/10 of her energy. Even if it meant 10 times conversion dissipation behind it, it was still worth it. Besides, Yunshi could make 100 loaves of bread in a day. His efficiency made the Spider Queen feel jealousy. Therefore, she must find out what the special organ was that Yunshi used to produce the fantastic golden butter loaf of bread. What was it? After tearing off Yunshi's clothes, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen didn't immediately find the special organ, which must contain tremendous amounts of energy. She leaned on Yunshi's chest, touching Yunshi's skin with her hands. Yunshi panted as his heart beat faster and faster. In the dark cave, there was only the dim light from Yunxi's green slime gem. They were so close that Yunxi could smell the fragrance of the dark shadow spider queen's hair. He blushed. Where is it? The dark shadow spider queen touched Yunxi's body with curiosity. She lowered her head and softly touched Yunxi's body with her tongue, just like what she did every time when she was going to kill her prey. Oh! Yunxi groaned. He was at a loss what to do. What is happening? Just now, he was still enjoying the ceremony together with Lulu and Ling Ling at the square. In the twinkling of an eye, he had come to this deep, dark cave and was being licked by this mysterious black-haired woman. He felt that his body was confined by some unknown, special power. He could do nothing but only see the black-haired woman tearing off his clothes and licking his body. The dark shadow spider queen hadn't done this before. She also didn't know what she should do next. If it was in the past, she would have eaten that prey after tasting him. But now, she just subconsciously licked his body, bit by bit. This place. No. After kissing Yunxi's neck, the dark shadow spider queen shook her head. She moved her head down. His heart. No. It isn't. Further down. His belly. She could feel a wave of strange heat flux there, but the answer was still no. So, is it this thing? Looking at the censored body part, the dark shadow spider queen guessed. She hadn't learned human morality, naturally, she didn't know how stimulating it would be to Yunxi. No. Not there. Yunxi panicked. His skin shivered. Because his body was confined, his skin was more sensitive than usual. He could barely resist this wonderful feeling, although he knew it was wrong. Have I found it? The dark shadow spider queen resisted her urge to eat it, but softly licked it with her tongue. The places that had been licked by her tongue diffused a strange, seductive fragrance. It was a special toxin, which the dark shadow spider queen used to anesthetize her prey. When she had just arrived at the uninhabited island and caught the Starwings night girls, she was using it to anesthetize them. In Yunxi's senses, he could clearly feel the soft touch that was softly moving up and down on his censored body part. The stimulation was too strong. Yunxi felt as if a ball of flame was burning in his body. I found it. The dark shadow spider queen thought that she had found the truth, and Yunxi enjoyed more wonderful treatment. The smooth, wonderful touch swept through his whole body. The dark shadow spider queen put out her tongue, licking his body bit by bit, not even missing the smallest part. The action continued. Her soft tongue touched his face, shoulders, chest, belly and... No, Yunxi couldn't bear it any longer. His body couldn't move, but his consciousness was even more sensitive. The dark shadow spider queen's tongue was like the sweetest and most painful punishment to him. The touch stimulated his brain, making him want to become a beast, but he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything. Nothing would be more frustrating and annoying than that. Unfortunately, the dark shadow spider queen didn't know male body at all. She still licked, just like what she always did to her prey in the past. But in Yunxi's view, his whole body was being kissed by a black-haired beauty. Naturally, he couldn't stop his censored body part from erecting. He exceeded the threshold, and the dark shadow spider queen found that something was filled in her mouth. Strange. It's not this taste. Why? Don't you use this organ to make that food? The dark shadow spider queen asked. She cocked her head, gazing at Yunxi with her innocent eyes. At this moment, Yunxi only felt extreme embarrassment. Chapter 191, Save Yunxi. under the light of his green slime gem, Yunshi saw a pair of pure, innocent eyes. She is serious, Yunshi thought. This black-haired beauty didn't think that it was a pornographic question. Then, how should I explain it? There is really no connection between it and my bread. A person suddenly found that he was in a dark cave and a mysterious black-haired beauty was going to do this thing and that thing to him. Recently, even novels wouldn't write this, but it actually happened. Why? Something was wrong in Water God's world. No visible enemy and no bloody battle. People lived in this world following old rules, and everything had its special properties. The dangerous, mysterious black-haired beauty, soft touch of her skin, tense feeling, uncontrollable desire. If Yun-Kei hadn't told him the existence of Shay Alongness, the Sky Sword, he wouldn't even think that this was a dream trial. As expected, you are just an idiot. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed in the dark cave. A burning arrow broke through one stalactite after another, shooting at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen. Hiss! The Dark Shadow Spider Queen raised her head. In the nick of time, her fingers pinched the arrow. However, Yun-Kei had already prepared for it. This wasn't the only arrow. As an assassin, she would do everything for victory. If she wasn't sure that she had 90% chance of winning, she wouldn't launch an attack. With burning flames, her red lotus arrow shot at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen from the places that hadn't been monitored by her web-like senses. Her attack was so unscrupulous as if she was planning to kill Yun-Shi and the Spider Queen together. If you don't want to be killed, open your water mist field. I know you can't move, so just open your field. Don't hesitate, this woman is Shay Alongness, the Sky Sword subordinate. Yun-Shi heard Yun-Kei's cold voice, not from the air but from the mental bond between their masks, and this was the reason why Yun-Kei knew that Yun-Shi had been kidnapped. As a top-class assassin of the Ten Leaves Alliance, she immediately realized how dangerous the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's cave was after arriving there. If it wasn't because Yun-Shi's ability was necessary for her to finish Water God's quest, she wouldn't challenge this powerful enemy. Observationally, she had guessed out the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's true identity. Water mist. Spreading. Yun-Shi strenuously repressed the hot impulse in his body, and tried to dispel the Queen's toxin in his blood. In fact, even if Yun-Kei didn't come, Yun-Shi would also get himself free after a while. Yun-Kei's assault just helped him increase the speed. In addition to it, Yun-Kei's warning also let Yun-Shi notice the anomaly in this dark cave. Through his water mist field, he saw over 10,000 green slimes and hundreds of elite slimes. He understood that Yun-Kei was right. Undoubtedly, this black-haired beauty was a subordinate of Shay Alongness, belonging to the Sky Sword's camp. And she was absolutely a leader. So that explained his strange feeling when he saw her. She is an enemy. 3 red lotus arrows crossed in the air and shot at the roof above Yun-Shi's head. Countless crushed stones dropped under the impact, which forced the Dark Shadow Spider Queen to leave the ground while holding Yun-Shi in her arms. A lot of mist gathered together without any sounds. Suddenly, the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's hands slipped and then, Yun-Shi disappeared. In chaos, Yun-Shi got rid of the Dark Shadow Spider Queen and hid in the mist, trying to run away. Where are you going? The Dark Shadow Spider Queen shouted angrily. He is my treasure. He is a strategic resource that can make 100 special foods every day. He can't escape from my hands. He is mine. Sorry, I think I can't become your thing. Yun-Shi's body was still paralytic, but he was trying to dispel the Queen's toxin. Boom. 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 5 red lotus arrows swept past Yun-Shi and banged into the wall of the cave. The Queen's route was completely blocked by the crushed stones. Taking this chance, Yunshi activated the energy in his water god's mask to dispel the toxin in his blood and controlled the mist to drag his body, finally escaping from this weird cave. I have told you before. Your shameless, salacious character will let you suffer losses. If I hadn't come, you would have been eaten at this moment. Yun-Kei had already escaped from the cave earlier. She kicked Yunshi and threw a cloth gown to him. His talent was so enviable, but he never practiced his power and played with his fiancée all day, and he was actually seduced by a woman so easily. He was really helpless. Sorry, I didn't expect that she is an enemy, Yunshi answered. He put on the cloth gown and took a deep breath. His eyes became serious. Nah. I made a mistake too. I shouldn't list such a dangerous enemy into the list of water god's bride candidates. Yun-Kei shook her head. If it wasn't because Yunshi was captured and she saw the abnormal scene in the dark cave with her eyes, she wouldn't believe that this mature, attractive black-haired beauty was the Sky Sword subordinate. Even though she was a female too, she was still shocked by the dark shadow spider queen's beauty when she saw her. Yun-Hai was a lecher, so it wasn't surprising to see that he had been seduced by the queen. However, the dark shadow spider queen was still their enemy. Yun-Hai was to be sadly disillusioned. Prepare yourself. She is coming. Yun-Kei held her bloody bow in her hand and stood beside Yun-Shi, shoulder to shoulder. Boom! A massive hole suddenly appeared on the ground. Countless green slimes gushed out from the hole, and the dark shadow spider queen appeared in front of them again, with dangerous killing intent in her eyes. Chapter 192, Jealousy and Impulsion. Why? Why did you betray me? The dark shadow spider queen stared at Yun-Shi angrily. None of her prey had ever escaped from her hands. Not once. Why did you leave me? You said that you would become my thing. Oh, you want to become her thing. You're not afraid to die, are you? Yun-Kei squinted at Yun-Shi, making sure of his degree of lechery again. Well, I think there's some misunderstanding between us. Perspiration poured down Yun-Shi's face. Now, he finally knew why his heart pounded fast when he saw her. It wasn't falling in love at first sight. It was his instinct that was warning him that the mysterious black-haired beauty was extremely dangerous. If he had said no at that time, he would have been killed by this mysterious, dangerous, black-haired woman. No. I should stop thinking it. Since she was Shay Alongness, the Sky Sword subordinate, she couldn't become his fiancée. After all, he was Water God's apostle. They were enemies. Answer me, why don't you want to be my thing? The dark shadow spider queen's temperament became more dangerous. For the first time, the dark shadow spider queen didn't understand why she was so angry. Was it because her treasure was stolen? No, that seemed to be it, but not exactly. However, when she saw that Yun-Shi was taken away by Yun-Kei, she couldn't refrain her urge to kill. Because you are enemies. So, you and him are destined to end like this, Yun-Kei said. She opened her bloody long bow, locking onto the dark shadow spider queen in her head with hostility. We're destined to end like this. The dark shadow spider queen frowned and her eyes became sharp. Who decides that? It wasn't real. She could get everything she wants, because she was the queen of spiders. She was the strongest, most excellent existence. Even though she had been transformed into this female human form, that wouldn't change. A queen deserves to have everything, and no one could steal her things. Yes, this is you. This is your true posture, a deep voice echoed inside the dark shadow spider queen's head. It was her god's voice. It was the whisper of the strongest existence. Jealousy, jealousy. It is ugly. It is beautiful. Tear off the surface, nothing in the world is unintelligible. Disinteresting, unpleasant, chaotic stuffs. Cry, tangle, confession, want to provoke my fond. How to describe my mood? Even to this day, I can't give an answer. I find that I'm a despicable creature. Noise, noise. So bored, so bored, so bored. Can't help it. I'm not good at handling relationships. I'm not happy. Too shallow. I'm bored. However, I hate to be eliminated. If I can't become the most popular one, I will find it unbearable. After all, I hate to be defeated. Even if I'm dirty and foul, even if I have to lie, if I can't look down on the earth, I will lose the meaning of my life. I can't treat everyone equally and gently. I can't pray for my lover. I want to hear her cry. I want to make her cry. It's a good thing. Say yes and mean no. I want to do it, but I can't. I'm helpless. I can't live in harmony with humans. I want her. I can't obtain her. We are people not of the same clan. We can only look down on the earth, making everyone kneel before us. You want him. You should grab him. It isn't a wrong thing to feel jealous, because it is proof of your life. Choose. Choose. Don't mind your has been half body. Don't mind your dim future. As long as you're still looking for beauty in this ugly world, your life will be significant. So that you can live in this world. Who decided that? Nobody has decided it, but you're not the same kinds. You're not human. Yun-Kei said. She had already discovered that this black-haired beauty was a dangerous evil creature. Compared to her, a male fiery dragon was nothing. She was 10 times more dangerous than any male fiery dragon. Well, in fact, I don't mind if my lover is not a human, Yun-Shi said, lacking of confidence. Shut up. She is our enemy. Yun-Kei burst with anger. She did her best to dampen their enemy's spirits, but he was really a pig-like mate. He just wasted all her efforts. Yes, I know you don't mind having a love affair with females of other races, but you shouldn't say it now. This black-haired woman is absolutely not a humanoid creature. Her beautiful appearance is just a guise. She is undoubtedly a dangerous monster. You're even interested in such a monster. I really can't understand your shamelessness and lechery. You're insulting the name, Yun-Hai. Yes, it has nothing to do with my race, the dark shadow spider queen licked her lips. She could feel some part in her body, something she had lost from a long time ago was reviving. It was strange. She was the queen of dark shadow spider race. She shouldn't have this desire. Why? Why did she have this impulse in her heart? Just like what the female human said, their races are different. But her instinct was continuously urging her to have some special relationships with this human. At that time, she had felt an electric current-like feeling when they were skin to skin. Wasn't it just her illusion? I want him to be my thing. I want him to be my own treasure. I won't let anyone take him away. He's mine. Strong possessiveness arose inside her heart. The dark shadow spider queen had never wanted to obtain a thing so eagerly. At this moment, she even forgot her identity and forgot that she was Shea Longness, the Sky Sword's executor. She just fixed her eyes on Yun-Shi. Yes, yes, this is it. Show your most ugly and most beautiful appearance. The voice echoed inside her heart again. Chapter 193, Missed Souls. Only in this way can you inspire your potential. Only in this way can you become Shea Longness, the Sky Sword's executor, guiding her will to descend to this world. So, it's time for outrage. It's time for seizure. Catch the thing you want. Catch the man who had committed a crime against Shealongness, the great sky sword. Hiss. The dark shadow spider queen stretched one black-red spider leg after another on her back, which gave Yunshi a familiar feeling. Every leg was engraved with black, ancient rune words. She was evolving. With the help of Shealongness, the sky sword's power, the dark shadow spider queen had broken through her limit and healed all the wounds on her body. She had reached her optimum state, and now, she was even stronger than the old her when she had just swallowed all her race members in the dark void. At this moment, the dark shadow spider queen's will and spirit completely overwhelmed Yunshi's and Yunkei's. I should have known, it's not good to be with a shameless, salacious guy like you. Yunkei's face looked terrible. Why did you say, I don't mind my lover's race? You just directly aroused her abnormal desire. If it wasn't because Yunkei really needed Yunshi's ability, she would have thrown Yunshi to the monster and ran away. Judging from the black-red legs on the spider queen's back, she had the worst expectation. The woman was an insect-type monster. Once she finished her evolution, she would be far stronger than other monsters at the same rank. Sorry, Yunkei, Yunshi sighed. He didn't want to see this happen, but he didn't want to be eaten by the dangerous black-haired beauty too, so he had to fight. Large amounts of water vapor gathered towards Yunshi from all directions, forming a wave of mist tide. For the first time, Yunshi exposed all his power. What, you? Impossible. Feeling the energy contained in the mist, Yunkei couldn't believe her eyes. She had observed and recorded the range, size, and energy of Yunshi's water mist field. She also had a water god's mask, so she didn't think that she would misjudge it. But now, Yunshi's power was 3 times stronger than what she had recorded. According to what Yunkei knew, even it was a famous genius who could reach the hero rank as easily as blowing off dust, the time the genius required to become 3 times stronger would be measured in years. And how long had Yunshi used? 7 days. Yunkei was sure that Yunshi played with his fiancée all day during the 7 days. How could he increase his power if he hadn't practiced at all? Was it because of his talent? He was a rare hero-ranked baker, but also had great talent in controlling his water god's mask. The world was too unfair. If so, there is still hope, Yunkei murmured. She felt jealous about Yunshi's talent, but she was also satisfied with the increase in Yunshi's power, because it was really helpful now. Means weren't important, because the truth was written by the victor. Only the victor could survive and own the future. The loser would lose in the past and lose all possibilities. Victory was the greatest justice, because only the victor could declare himself to be justified. The dead couldn't speak. This was Yunkei's life criteria. For justice, which also meant victory, she would do anything. If she had to kill 1,000 people to save 1 billion more, she wouldn't be hesitant to do it. Hesitation and indecision wouldn't help her become the last winner. If she lost, it would also mean that justice had died. For the belief she wanted to protect, she had joined the 10 Leaves Alliance. She had killed a lot of people, and also obtained a great amount of rewards at the same time. She didn't mind other people's opinions, because it was all she could do. Yunshi's talent and potential shocked her. She understood the reason why Water God had chosen him. Unlike her, this man who called himself Yunhai was really as talented as the true Yunhai, the legendary sword master. She thought that he was probably one of Yunhai's descendants. Even though he was shameless and salacious, his talent was far greater than hers. He was the key to accomplish Water God's quest instead of her. He couldn't die here. She would protect him. For her mission, and for her belief. If this bastard was the key to change the fate of this world, then for the sake of this world, she would protect him. It had nothing to do with moral principles. It had nothing to do with his personality. It was simply because he was the key. 3 times water mist field. After obtaining powers from his 107 fiancés, Yunqi's power had reached a new realm. He could control the mist around him like he could control his body. The mist within a range of 10 kilometers was his eyes and ears. The rules of Water God's world naturally integrated into his body, letting him understand what he could do now. In the name of Yunhai, respond to my call. Come out, mist souls. Along with Yunqi's voice, one girl after another whose bodies were formed by mist, came out from the mist tide behind Yunqi. The total number of girls were 107, corresponding to the sum of the Starwings Night Girls and the native girls who had signed the marriage contract with him. Yunqi's water mist field had just responded to his will, forming these girls from his imagined world. They would be his swords. They would be his army. He himself is an army, and they are. Yunkai seriously recorded Yunqi's performance, because his power would become the key to the battle between Water God's camp and the Sky Sword's camp. If she was an assassin who would accomplish the whole task with a one-hit kill, then Yunqi was the emperor, who would sit still and call the shots. His white Water God's mask symbolized his pure white will. He could be called White Emperor. Chapter 194, White Emperor. So, I can actually do this. From the silver mask on Yunqi's face, a cold feeling spread to Yunqi's whole body. Controlling and dominating the mist in Water God's world, these were the silver mask's original properties. When Yunqi had just obtained the mask, he had thought that it was an assistant-type equipment. Mount the clouds and ride the mist, control all information in his water mist field, condense mist into ice blades, control and divide the battlefield. These were the mask's properties Yunqi had discovered by himself. However, he had forgotten Water God's meaningful words and his star system's prompt when he had just obtained the silver mask. As a god, I'm looking for a person who can span time and space, becoming my lover. Hence, I give you my mask. You will become my eyes, my ears, my sword, to look for my bride. Remember, you have my mask, so you can use my power. You will become the Yutaware Ramono. You will obtain the fake power of the Emperor. What was the power of Emperor? Yunqi hadn't understood it at that time. But now, after receiving power from his 107 fiancés and releasing all his power, he suddenly understood. Emperor dominates everything. Emperor has everything. After wearing his Water God's mask, he had been recognized by Water God's world as an emperor, the Emperor of Water Mist. His Water God's mask was totally different to Yunkei's. His mask was unique because only he could control it. The white mist in Water God's world, his silver mask, and side quest 3. In the blink of an eye, Yunqi understood a lot of things. You have accomplished the first phase of optional side quest 3, the truth of the mist. You have discovered your mask's real name, White Emperor. Now you are the Emperor of Mist, and you can control the endless mist in this world. Walking into the mist, you will meet the strongest and the most dangerous creature in the mist, Mist Demon. So, this mask's name was White Emperor. Yunqi stroked the silver mask on his face. The 4 horns on the mask just became more crystal with endless mist inside them. It's an artifact, Yunkei couldn't help but stroke her mask too. Since Yunqi's mask was special and contained Water God's god power, did it mean that her mask too contained the same power? Unfortunately, she wasn't as talented as Yunqi. She couldn't activate her mask's true power easily. Is it due to the gap between our talents? Water God is not supposed to play favorites. It's unfair. Creak. The black-red legs shivered on the queen's back, emitting a joyful sound. She had just finished evolving. With the help of Shay Alongness, the Sky Sword's great will, she had surpassed her past self and covered all her shortages. She had recovered too. No, she had exceeded her strongest past state. Her senses had just weaved a web covering the whole area in the range of 10 kilometers. If she had had such a wide web-like sense field in the past, the whole dark shadow spider race wouldn't have faced the hopeless food shortage situation. One green slime after another came out from the dark cave, integrating into the queen's body in order to offer her continuous life force. Although they weren't as effective as Yunqi's fourth-ranked breed, but their numbers were greater, which had greatly increased the dark shadow spider queen's combat power. Because Yunqi had noticed the queen's terrible power, he had broken through his limits during this dangerous period and learned his mask's real name. Even though the power of the mask was fake, however, the mask itself was still a real artifact. Star Wings. Attacking. Habitually, Yunqi commanded the Mist Soul Girls. Immediately, these Mist Soul Girls formed an army unit and started to launch attacks at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen. They didn't have physical bodies. However, in Yunqi's water mist field, they were faster and nimbler than real humans. Their weapons were ice swords, which were naturally condensed and formed inside the water mist field. All the swords were top class. They were these Mist Souls' exclusive weapons. Their sword blades were seemingly crystal and fragile, but contained a bit of god power inside them. In Water God's world, these ice blades could even hurt hero-ranked creatures' body. They were Yunqi's army, the White Emperor's army, Mist Soul Army. Inside Yunqi's water mist field, the 107 Mist Soul Girls were even stronger than 10,000 real people. Flying Swallow Sword. Flying Swallow Sword. Flying Swallow Sword. The Mist Soul Girls on the first row were taking the Star Wings Night Girls as models. They brandished their swords, performing a flying swallow sword perfectly in the air. Because their body mass was nearly zero, they could ignore the law of gravity like real flying swallows and perform flying swallow sword to an extent that even made Yunqi feel surprised. Other Mist Souls were taking the native girls as models. They threw the ice swords in their hands at the Dark Shadow Spider Queen, attacking her in the simplest method. Opening. My sense field. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen just smiled. Through her deep, black eyes, an invisible web appeared. No, there wasn't anything like spider thread emitting out from her eyes. It was just a web of her sense, chaining the Star Wings Night Girls in the air. The Dark Shadow Spider Queen's web-like sense just restricted their mist bodies. Boom! 3 red lotus arrows broke through the mist and crashed into the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's body. She blocked them with her black-red spider legs, sputtering sparks in the air. Just like the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's web-like sense restricted Flying Swallow Sword, Yunqi's Red Lotus Arrow also restricted the Dark Shadow Spider Queen's web-like sense. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.